Chapter 159. You can wear out iron shoes in fruitless searching only to find it by chance. Qin Guang's face suddenly fell. If it was someone else, it might have been an accident. But since it was Dong Tao who was driving, and combined with the fact that Dong Tao deliberately drove to the side of the road when he approached him, it was obvious that Dong Tao did it on purpose. Fine, I wanted to beat you up before, but I couldn't find you. Now that you have come knocking on my door, I will let you have your way. Recently, Dong Tao had been in a bad mood. The reason was that he had been defeated by Qin Guang in the sports meet. Although Qin Guang had inexplicably withdrawn from the competition, and he had the last laugh, the shadow of his defeat in the preliminary round still lingered. Dong Tao also knew that Coach Qin had failed to invite Qin Guang. Although Coach Qin had never mentioned it again, Dong Tao still had a knot in his heart, and it was hard for him to get over it. After that, he tried to ask Pan Jiang for money. Even if it didn't work out, he felt that he had made a contribution, so he should get some benefits. In the end, Pan Jiang had completely disappeared from the face of the earth. Dong Tao couldn't get through to him on the phone. He secretly asked Pan Jiang's former best friends, and they found out that Pan Jiang had actually dropped out of school. Dong Tao was puzzled, but what made him even more depressed was that he had made a wasted effort and lost face. After all that effort, he only got a meal and he didn't get any money. His heart was even more uneasy. This bad mood lasted until this morning. Coincidentally, he browsed the school forum on his phone, and saw that a post related to Qin Guang had become a hot topic. Without any hesitation, Dong Tao immediately went into action, and used his real self sock puppet. He was so happy that he had taken his revenge. As for Qin Guang's revenge, Dong Tao didn't care. Time had passed, and he seemed to have forgotten how the three of them had cowered in front of Qin Guang. At that time, Qin Guang didn't really fight with him. Dong Tao thought that he was a semi-professional athlete, and if he really fought with him, he wouldn't lose too much to Qin Guang. It was the same now. Just as he drove out of the school gate, he glanced at Qin Guang casually, and then he remembered that there were several other cars following him, so he did this without hesitation. This was not the end. Anyway, he had more than 10 people on his side. If he didn't take this opportunity to teach Qin Guang a lesson, wouldn't it be a waste of his good luck? Furthermore, they were outside the school. So even if he beat up Qin Guang, he could only suffer in silence as long as he didn't injure him too much. Dong Tao was pitiful. He had forgotten to ask Pan Jiang's classmates about why Pan Jiang would drop out of school and what happened between Pan Jiang and Qin Guang. If he knew that Qin Guang first beat up Pan Jiang's buddies and then sent Pan Jiang to the hospital, he might not be so stupid and impulsive today. Interesting. I was looking for you. Qin Guang rubbed his hands and walked towards Dong Tao. Dong Tao was slightly surprised. Is this guy really so hot-tempered? He just started a fight because of a disagreement? Doesn't he recognize what car I'm driving? An Audi A4 that costs more than 200,000. What the hell is in your head? This is the car that a university student drives. Is it someone you can mess with? What the hell are you doing? Dong Tao took 2 steps back and signaled the people in the car with his eyes. All of you get out. Get out. This guy is looking for a beating. Qin Guang was only 2 to 3 meters away from Dong Tao, but he was not in a hurry to make a move. You think you have more people? Fine. Come on. I will wait for you all to come down. I will beat you all together. A few days ago he observed and learned from Wenwen's domineering moves. Qin Guang did not want to admit that his hands were itching. He did not know how Wenwen trained, but as long as he practiced he would have a chance to get close to the Tyrannosaurus King. At this time, 3 more cars drove out from the school gate. They went straight to where Qin Guang and Dong Tao were. They stopped and another 8 or 9 people got out. Counting with his eyes, Qin Guang saw 4 vehicles and 13 people. What an auspicious number. 2 of them looked familiar. They seemed to be the people who lost to him in the school's swimming pool. No wonder you are so brave. It seems like you have a lot of helpers. Qin Guang was not anxious at all. That day at the same place, Wu Tong had died unexpectedly. He had single-handedly stopped Brother Scar and Glasses Wu's group. Although the number of people was similar to today, Brother Scar and the others were just small characters in Wenxing Town, but their skills were indeed strong. Dong Tao's group looked young and strong, but if they were to really fight, they would be nothing more than a silver spear tip, good to look at but useless to the eyes. Now that his own people were here, the fear in Dong Tao's heart had already disappeared. He coldly looked at Qin Guang and continued, having more people is also a skill. I know that you have a few brothers that hang out with you, and if you're not convinced, you can call them over and have a good fight. If you are afraid, then leave with your tail between your legs. In the future, show me some respect. Qin Guang grinned. No problem. But you have to be good. I think I alone am good enough. As for respect, okay. I will respect you right now. Before he finished his sentence, he suddenly moved. He took 2 to 3 steps in front of Dong Tao and pretended to kick him. Dong Tao turned his body to dodge, but Qin Guang did not kick him. Instead, he stomped on the ground, leaned forward, and swung his left hand horizontally towards Dong Tao's face. Dong Tao's head followed the direction of Qin Guang's left hand and swung to the side. His head hit the door frame of his Audi A4L. Everything happened too quickly, and no one expected that Qin Guang would actually dare to make a move. But you're alone. We have more than 10 people here. Dong Tao was stunned. The others were scared out of their wits. Before Dong Tao could scream, Qin Guang took another step forward and grabbed his collar. His right hand reached out and grabbed his hair from behind. Then he slammed him into the car window. The sound was so loud that the people who were watching from the side felt their teeth ache. It was too tragic. Dong Tao finally covered his head and squatted down while wailing. The very sturdy car window cracked from the impact of his head's impact. Qin Guang followed up with a kick that landed on that brat's stomach. Ow! The wail turned into a sharp wail. Who dares to come up? All of this took a long time to describe but happened in a flash. In a few seconds, the tall and strong Dong Tao became a pile of mud on the ground. The 10 helpers beside him didn't even have time to react. After beating him up, Qin Guang suddenly turned around and glared at the others who tried to get close. The aura of the second officer, who had killed countless people in the Sea of Moments, exploded in an instant. The veins on his arms and neck bulged. The muscles that were originally hidden, under the stimulation of his adrenaline, unconsciously swelled up. At this moment he looked like a ferocious beast. The young lads who were still in the ivory tower were scared out of their wits. Unhurriedly, Qin Guang took another step forth and stepped on Dong Tao's hand. He didn't exert any force, but he didn't allow Dong Tao to get up. He coldly looked around and continued, "All of you should know how this matter started, since you're in Dong Tao's vehicle. I won't talk to you about right or wrong. I just want to ask who doesn't accept it? Come, if he wants it, I'll give it to him. If you don't accept it, come up and try." Chapter 160. F***CK, do you really think I got to where I am today by acting cute? As Qin Guang spoke, he subconsciously touched his pocket, intending to take out his weapon. F***CK, I forgot. My poor swing rod has already sunk into the fish pond. But it didn't matter. Anyway, these grandsons were all subdued. It seemed like there was no need to take out his weapon. Help me. Help me. Beat him up. Dong Tao howled in pain as he tried to pull his hand out from under Qin Guang's foot. But after trying for a long time, he was afraid that Qin Guang would really use his strength and he would still be stepped on. He shouted in panic. He was really afraid that his hand would be trampled. If that happened, his swimming career would really come to an end. What he couldn't understand the most was that there were so many people surrounding him. Why was he beaten to the ground by Qin Guang the moment he saw him, and the others didn't move at all? Dong Tao shouted for a long time, but still no one moved. The air seemed to have frozen. Dong Tao's companions were in a rather awkward situation. They didn't know whether to move or not. There were more and more people watching from the side, which made these people even more ashamed and angry. We have more than 10 people here and we're scared to the point that we can't move. What is this? Finally, gradually, some people couldn't hold back anymore, and they slowly approached Qin Guang. Qin Guang suddenly laughed. If the matter really passed like this, it would really be a little disappointing. If he didn't fight to his heart's content, he probably wouldn't let Dong Tao completely give up. If he defeated more than 10 people in front of him, Dong Tao would probably not be able to stand still when he saw him in the future. Moreover, he had already made such a big scene. If he didn't fight to his heart's content, what would be the point? Last time, Zhong Bai and his group of young fellows were very disappointing. They had planned to beat him up, but suddenly he turned into a potential financial backer of their family. They treasured him so much that they were afraid of losing him in their hands and melting in their mouths. Dong Tao and his group didn't have that kind of treatment. It was a good time to have fun. Of course, I wasn't so domineering in the past. Who asked me to be different now? I'm the second officer of the An Royal. Just as the first person was about to approach Qin Guang and he was about to take the initiative to attack, a sudden change occurred. From the corner of the street came the rumbling sound of an engine. The voice came from afar and approached abruptly. It was like a tidal wave, one wave after another. The rolling sound pressure was deafening, and many people covered their ears in discomfort. A supercar. And it wasn't just one. From the sound of it, there were at least 10 of them. The roar of the supercar's engine was too deafening. Not to mention the bored onlookers surrounding Qin Guang, Even Qin Guang himself and Dong Tao's companions couldn't help but look towards the end of the street. Sure enough, as the first yellow Ferrari FF turned the corner, a series of supercars followed closely behind it. The dull and ear-piercing roar of the engine rose and fell. Although these supercars didn't speed up, the people in the cars seemed to be enjoying the dull and thunderous roar. 1, 2, 3, more and more. The long line of supercars became longer and longer. Finally, when the last Mercedes-Benz SLS turned the corner, there was a Geely Vajra in an awkward situation behind it. The sharp-eyed people had already counted how many supercars there were. There were a total of 22 supercars. Thick, incomplete smoke gushed out from the rear of these cars and rose into the sky. Coupled with the thunderous roar of the engine, it gave people a strong sense of oppression even before they got close. What a shameless show-off. Ganging up to show off, it's an unfair advantage. Suddenly, such a voice came from the crowd. The person who spoke was Qin Guang. Dong Tao's companions were the closest to him. They turned their heads and looked at him in disdain. These people thought to themselves, "You country bumpkin, what do you know?" The value of the 22 supercars added up to hundreds of millions. Especially the Porsche 918 Spyder inside. The price of the single car was as high as 15 million. As for the expenses of maintaining this car, it was simply asking for one's life. Poor Dong Tao, he was actually forgotten. One must know that his hand was still being stepped on by Qin Guang. Oh, Qin Guang himself had also forgotten about this. At this moment, Qin Guang's mind was thinking, when I become rich one day, I'll sell one too. That's right, the Porsche in the middle. Although I don't know much about this kind of high-end stuff, I can tell that the car is worth a lot of money. It's not that I'm not bragging, but it's way cooler than the Nissan GTR in front and behind it. Alright, actually I'm just guessing. All the supercars in my eyes are actually the same. 3 words, I can't afford it. At this moment, the Ferrari FF that was leading the pack gradually approached them before it abruptly swung its head and crossed the road, stopping near Qin Guang's group. At this moment, Qin Guang's group had the most people gathered around him, and it was the most conspicuous. The people in the car were most likely here to ask about something. The car window rolled down and a head popped out and asked loudly, "Bro, is this Gokyo University? Do you know Qin Guang from the University of Construction and San Juan Science?" We can't get through to his phone. Qin Guang was stunned. Who else could it be other than Zhong Bai? I must have mastered some special abilities recently. Whoever I think of, that person will immediately appear in front of me. I heard that there's an investment guru called Buffett on the other side of the sea. When can I have lunch with him? Well, I've already thought of that. I'll be able to see Buffett tonight at the latest. Before Qin Guang could speak, Zhong Bai had already spotted Qin Guang from the crowd. He was overjoyed. He quickly stopped the car, opened the door and got out of the car. Then he pulled out the walkie-talkie from the car and shouted, "Everyone pull over. I found Brother Racer. We're so lucky." After that, Zhong Bai threw the walkie-talkie into the car, slammed the door and eagerly walked to Qin Guang. "You've crossed the double solid line and made a U-turn. You'll be fined 300 yuan and deducted 1 point. Seeing Zhong Bai getting closer and closer, Qin Guang suddenly said this. Zhong Bai stopped. After being scolded by Qin Guang, he scratched his head in embarrassment and turned his head away, not daring to look at Qin Guang. Sorry. I'm used to it. I'll change." Dong Tao, who was on the ground, and his companions who were standing, were all dumbfounded. What's going on? Brother Racer? That country bumpkin, Qin Guang, was the racing god that person was talking about? This group of supercars formed a group to act cool and come to find him? That person who just got out of the car seemed to be very respectful to Qin Guang? Things seemed to be getting a little out of control. The onlookers were also at a loss. Previously, they thought that Qin Guang was in big trouble for taking the initiative to make a move against more than 10 people. How did he get a helper in the blink of an eye? Moreover, the helper's momentum was so cool. 22 cars, there were at least 22 people. Moreover, those who could afford to drive these cars naturally had a rich family background. It seemed like the offensive and defensive situation had suddenly reversed. Who was that Qin Guang? Just now, that person called him Brother Racer. What did that mean? Countless question marks rose in everyone's heart. The only one who was really clear was Qin Guang. Chapter 161. When Dong Tao's helpers saw this scene, they didn't dare to make a move on Qin Guang. They quietly retreated, intending to disassociate themselves from this matter. Zhong Bai had already noticed that Qin Guang's situation was a little strange, but he didn't point it out before he got close. He stood next to Qin Guang and waited for the people in the other 21 cars behind him to rush out of their cars and approach one after another. Only then did he approach Qin Guang to talk. Qin Guang's eyes were very sharp. He had been secretly paying attention to the super valuable Porsche 918. The one who got out of the driver's seat was actually Lu Fei, the female pirate. The rich woman that I've been dreaming of. If I can get this girl, selling a wheel will be enough for me to eat for half a year. Brother Racing God, what are you talking about? I didn't hear it clearly. Zhong Bai's voice came from the side. Qin Guang rolled his eyes and accidentally said what he was thinking in his heart. Fortunately, it was noisy nearby and I didn't hear it clearly. Otherwise, my image as the racing god of this generation would be ruined before I even made a move. It's nothing. We'll talk about your matters later. I'll take care of this small matter first. After that, Qin Guang turned his head to look at Dong Tao, but he smiled without saying a word. He was secretly happy. Although Zhong Bai's entrance shocked the old man, the effect was really good. At least Dong Tao, this idiot, was completely scared. He must have begun to doubt his own life, right? On this side, Zhong Bai took a step forward and pulled Qin Guang's foot away from Dong Tao's hand. We are all here. Do you still need Brother Racing God to make a move? What are you doing? Dong Tao had already begun to slip into his car. The situation was not good. It was better to leave first. Zhong Bai grabbed the back of Dong Tao's shirt and threw him back. Dong Tao immediately fell on his back. Normally, Dong Tao was taller and stronger than Zhong Bai, so he wouldn't be in such a sorry state. However, he had just been beaten up by Qin Guang, and now he was stunned by this group of idiotic rich second generations. If one spirit was gone, it would be useless to have a strong body. Alright Zhong Bai, that's it. Qin Guang was a little worried that this group of people would do something that crossed the line. After all, he only planned to beat Dong Tao up once. God knows what kind of crazy devil was hidden in the bones of these rich second generations who were as docile as lambs in front of him. However, Zhong Bai did not agree. Brother Racing God, you beat this person up so badly. Your relationship must be bad. We don't have any greeting gifts for you, so it's only natural that we help you teach someone a lesson. Is this lousy Audi his car? Zhong Bai pointed at Dong Tao's car and asked. Qin Guang ridiculed in his heart. You're talking about other people's lousy Audi, as if your heavenly states are 8 isn't an Audi. It's his why. Zhong Bai grinned and raised his head at the few brothers who were walking over from behind. Smash this Audi A4. What the heck? Qin Guang was stunned. What do you mean by being rich and willful? Compared to you guys, I'm practically a living miser when I put 2 cup covers on the heavenly holy grail. Under Dong Tao's dumbfounded gaze, under Zhong Bai and the rest's laughter, and under Qin Guang's pained gaze, this brand new A4L that Dong Tao regarded as his treasure was smashed all over the place. It couldn't be said to be completely scrapped, but looking at the completely deformed body, even using one's toes to count, one would know that if they wanted to completely repair it, it wouldn't be too far off from buying a new one. Looking at this pile of scrap metal, Dong Tao didn't even have the strength to cry. He sat on the ground like a madman, his hands trembling. He wanted to point at these rich second generations and shout something, but he didn't dare to. He was also unwilling. This matter can't be resolved. Qin Guang muttered in his heart. He secretly planned to run away as soon as possible. This has nothing to do with me. I don't have the money to pay for it. At this time, Zhong Bai took out a business card from his pocket and threw it at Dong Tao's face. We don't have any cash on us, but we're very busy today and don't have time to transfer money to you. This is my business card. If you want me to pay for it, follow the address on the business card to find me. I'll be waiting for you at any time. Zhong Bai wasn't done. Lu Fei, who had been standing on the side watching the show with her hands folded, also walked up and did the same. Some sharp-eyed people had already noticed that Lu Fei had gotten out of the Porsche 918. Needless to say, the 918's wheels could be exchanged for 2 Audi A4 LS. After Lu Fei threw the business card, the other 20 people did the same. The snowflake-like business card surrounded Dong Tao in a complete circle. It looked a bit like a magic circle to summon cute pets, and Dong Tao was the poor cute pet lying in the middle of the magic circle with a sad face. Qin Guang watched curiously. This group of people seemed to be very familiar with this routine. Obviously, this wasn't the first time they had done this. Brother Racing God, actually, we're not as bad as you think. Although the car was damaged, we still have to pay for it. It's nothing more than a way to vent our anger. If we handle it this way, we'll look good and he'll feel good. Things won't get out of hand and everyone will be happy. Of course, I reckon that he might not really dare to ask us for the money after seeing the business card. But that's his problem. We've done everything right. Sitting in the front passenger seat of Zhong Bai's car, Qin Guang listened to his explanation. His heart still ached. Damn, so this is the greeting gift you were talking about? A car that smashed a basket. Why don't you just give me the money? I don't care about my reputation, but I care more about the inside. Forget it. Things have already come to this. I can't possibly let Lioli use magic to change the Audi A4L back, right? Wait, if I remember correctly, didn't my little Rena also take a trip to the gates of hell? If I really stopped the car and provoked them verbally that day, I would either have to beat them up directly, or my little Rena would have turned into 80,000 yuan sitting in my cart, right? Thinking about it this way, it was really a close call. Whether he beat them up or lost the car, his racing god training class would be dead in its infancy. Are your business cards really that useful? Why don't you show me one? Tossing aside the past, Qin Guang was curious. He also wanted to know what Zhong Bai's family did. Zhong Bai chuckled. Business cards are also props to show off. All of us always have one on us. Only Lu Fei is more pretentious. Her business card really only has her phone number and name printed on it. As he spoke, Zhong Bai held the steering wheel with one hand, took out a gold-stamped business card, and handed it to Qin Guang. Senior Director of Huangxiang Corporation? Your family's company? Zhong Bai nodded. Yes. Your father's creativity in naming the company. I'll give him 36 likes. Zhong Bai's face turned green. He had probably heard this kind of ridicule nearly 100 times in the past 2 years. He sighed. When my father started up the company, the word, xiang, didn't have this layer of meaning yet. Fate makes fools of people. Chapter 162. Alright, we have a tacit understanding. Go back and think of a way to persuade your father to change the company's name. Alright, can't you just call me if you need me for a class? Why did a bunch of people come to my school and stop at my school gate? Are you here to act cool for some fun? Qin Guang said angrily. He couldn't bring himself to be happy when he thought about how his $200,000 had flown away without him noticing. Zhong Bai felt even more wronged. I've been calling you for a long time, but I couldn't get through at all. We snuck over to try our luck. Since we had nothing better to do, we bumped into you at the school gate. Isn't that good luck? Couldn't get through? Qin Guang pinched his forehead. He couldn't even complain anymore. Heavenly States Popcorn 4S, you really died a terrible death. That wasn't the biggest blow. Qin Guang realized that he didn't have the special ability to call. Zhong Bai and the rest happened to come over only because he couldn't get through to his phone. Oh right, where's your R8? Hasn't it been repaired? Is it a new one? Qin Guang hurriedly tried to change the topic. Otherwise, his heart would hurt again. Zhong Bai sighed angrily. The whole car is flooded, so what can I do? It was sent back to Germany and won't be back for a month or two. I can only drive this one out. Don't think that it's expensive, it's not as convenient as the R8. Give it to me if it's not convenient. Qin Guang rolled his eyes and thought in his heart. He couldn't be bothered to talk to this rich second generation anymore. He didn't want to be hurt by this grandson's extravagance again. The group of people came and left in a hurry. They smashed Dong Tao's heart and A4L into pieces at the school gate. The crowd at the school gate was also shocked. Dong Tao was heartbroken as he laid on his own car. The pain all over his body added together was not as much as the pain of a funeral. He was so angry that he could barely breathe. Then he pointed at his companions who had been watching the show from the beginning to the end and gnashed his teeth in hatred. He held it in for a long time and only managed to say, "Damn you! You onlookers! You're dead." From the moment he tried to attack Qin Guang by relying on his advantage in numbers, it was destined to be a huge mistake. Even if those people didn't come later, they still wouldn't be able to defeat Qin Guang, because his grandsons didn't dare to make a move. Then came these super runners who were even more unreasonable than him and wilder than Qin Guang. Not only did they smash the car because of a disagreement, they even threw their business cards at his face. They looked like they were saying, "If you want to pay up, come and find us." Was he really going to ask for compensation? Stop joking. Look at what is written on these business cards. A senior director of Huangxiang Corporation. Deputy General Manager of Dongguan Group. The assistant to the chairman of Parkson Tianhe Group. Take your head and ask for it. Well, losing a car worth more than 200,000 and being able to get so many high-end business cards, it seems like it's not entirely without benefits. But his family's small business couldn't compare to such a big haul. What could he do? Admit defeat. As for Qin Guang, Dong Tao was even more determined not to provoke him. He couldn't beat him. Fight with his background? Don't make trouble. All his family's wealth was not as good as the Porsche 918 in the middle of the group of cars. What would Dong Tao become, whether the onlookers would take photos and upload them to the internet, Whether he would really change from the diving brother to the car-smashing brother, Qin Guang didn't care at all. Anyway, no matter how miserable he would be the former underwear Superman. Today he didn't go to class or the hospital. Since he had picked them up, Qin Guang was planning to take care of the racing god training class. Although there was Patek Philippe there, it was not bad to earn more than 100,000. God knew how much the whole kidney transplant surgery would cost. Now, 200,000 in cash plus the 400,000 that Patek Philippe might get, the total was 600,000, which might not be enough. A group of cars drove to the Fengquan Mountain racetrack. Zhongbai was quite honest on the way. He didn't exceed the speed limit or run the lights, which was completely different from what Qin Guang had imagined. Of course, Qin Guang speculated that it might be because he had taught him a lesson before. It was only 10 o'clock in the morning and there was no one else here at all. After getting out of the car and counting people, Qin Guang found that most of the people who were racing here that day were not seen today. Most of them were unfamiliar faces, and only Lu Fei and 3 or 4 other people could be remembered. Zhongbai, what's going on? I don't know most of them. Qin Guang wondered. Zhongbai scratched his head in embarrassment and said, Brother Racing God. Okay, don't call me Brother Racing God. It's so distant. Those who don't know me might think that my surname is Che and my name is Brother Shin. Just call me Qin Guang. Qin Guang interrupted Zhongbai's words. He was unconsciously trying to get close to the rich second generation. He was so confident because he had driving skills. Okay, Brother Qin Guang? Zhongbai tried to call him. After calling him, he looked nervously at Qin Guang's expression, for fear that he wouldn't be used to it. Qin Guang sighed. Hey, damn, can you not stare at me like that? I thought you had a gourd in your hand. If you called my name I would be sucked in. After Zhongbai explained it to Qin Guang understood how attractive his skills were. Zhongbai was tight-lipped. In accordance with Qin Guang's request to pull a few more students, he secretly pulled in his buddies who had a good relationship with him to make up the number. As a result, there was a loose tongue in that group of people who leaked the matter. Now all the second generations of Wujing City who liked to race cars flocked to this place. Zhongbai became the spokesperson of Qin Guang's racing god training class. Everyone wanted to come and fought over it. However, Zhongbai couldn't figure out Qin Guang's temper. He said it was a training class. If he really pulled in 100 people and only charged 100,000 a day, he was really afraid that Qin Guang would just fling his sleeves and leave. In desperation, Zhongbai had to pick and choose. Those who really couldn't erase their relationship and couldn't put down their pride were able to enter the ranks of the first training class. Originally, the other few people who met for the first time also barely managed to keep their spots. However, the others couldn't do anything to Zhongbai, so they went to those people separately. The form was stronger than the people. Everyone fought with each other in private and did all kinds of shady business. After changing back and forth, there were now 22 people. Of course, just by looking at the batch of cars that came today, it was clear that the 22 people who had been changed were not the same as those who surrounded Zhongbai that day. Among them, the cheapest was the top Nissan GTR. Who knows how much money this guy spent on it? Of course, the female pirate Lu Fei was the most domineering. She quietly drove her Porsche 918 Spider. Qin Guang said that the scale of her family's chemical plant was a bit big. After asking Zhongbai about the matter, Qin Guang was thinking about how to get close to Lu Fei, the rich woman. As a result, she took the initiative to come over and smiled. Qin Guang, Brother Racing God, where did you buy this t-shirt? The half-dragon pattern is very domineering. I also want to buy one. Lowering his head, Qin Guang sighed. He had just splashed half his body with mud, and when he saw Zhongbai's party, he was so engrossed in the thought of the $100,000 training fee that he forgot to change his clothes. Right now he was so dry that there were even marks on his clothes. You don't say. It was indeed quite domineering half-dragon pattern. Go away, you even dare to tease your mentor. Be careful, I'll let you taste the Haushaku that I just practiced. Chapter 163. Since he had decided to earn this money, Qin Guang was not going to fool around. He planned to teach them something real. Although they were rich, after spending so much time with them, Qin Guang could tell that they were not stupid. They were smart. Zhongbai had said that apart from the 22 people today, there were at least 180 people waiting outside. No, he had to limit the number of people. Today was the first time, but the next time, there would be no more than 20 people. That way, he would be able to fool at least 5 more groups of people and earn at least another 500,000. So the problem was, if he wanted to keep this business going, how should he teach them today? Sitting in the driver's seat of Zhongbai's Ferrari FF, Qin Guang felt a little sad when he turned his head to look at Zhongbai, who was so excited that he did not know what to do. He found a few problems, and the most pressing one was how to start the car in front of him. Looking at the strange buttons on the FF steering wheel, even if he was the king of English and knew every word, it was useless. Knowing the names of the buttons did not mean that he knew how to start the car. "Brother Qingguang, what's wrong?" Zhong Bai excitedly waited for a long time, but there was no movement, so he couldn't help but ask. Letting out a sigh, Qingguang couldn't act anymore. Although his driving skills are heaven-defying, he's only driving low-end cars like the Altarina. He hasn't even touched a high-end Ferrari before. "Zhong Bai, can you tell me how to start the car first?" Qingguang finally admitted. Zhong Bai was stunned at first, but then he came back to his senses and tried not to laugh out loud. He had never doubted Qingguang's driving skills, but he did not expect this godlike person to have such an awkward moment. It would be difficult for someone who did not know how to drive a car like this, but after Zhong Bai briefly explained a few key points, Qingguang immediately got the hang of it. But a new problem arose. What should he teach him? If his driving skills were really discovered little by little, perhaps he could really explain the main points to Zhong Bai in simple terms, but in fact he was the victim of the stuffing method of teaching in a cup. From the beginning to the end, I drove the modified Alto and sped through the 9 stages of the God of Racing Cup, finally becoming the God of Racing. Now that I'm teaching someone, I can't bring them into the cup realm, and I don't have any theoretical knowledge. The ability to race is done subconsciously and I don't need to think about it at all. You want to teach others? How am I supposed to teach him? Pay attention. When he took off, he had to look in the rearview mirror to make sure there were no other cars behind him. Oh, by the way, first check that the safety belt is not fastened tightly, then release the handbrake and place your feet on the clutch and brake respectively. Thankfully, the Ferrari FF still had a clutch. Hey Zhong Bai, what happened to you? What kind of expression is that? Are you doubting my teaching? Brother Qingguang, what you just said is only taught by a driving instructor. We want to learn how to race with you, not from the most basic level. Zhong Bai wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He even began to wonder if the God of Racing was unhappy that he had invited too many people. Seeing that he couldn't fool him, Qingguang also had a headache. He slapped his hands on the steering wheel and held it in for a long time before he said, "Zhong Bai, it's not that I don't want to teach you, but my driving skills are unorthodox, and I don't know how to teach you." Zhong Bai was puzzled. Qingguang thought for a while and lied through his teeth. "You might not believe it, but I was just an average driver in the past and my driving skills might not even be half as good as yours. But one night I suddenly had a dream. Do you know what I dreamed of?" Zhong Bai's curiosity was suddenly piqued. "What?" "I dreamed of it. I dreamed that I was driving an Alto 400 or 500 kilometers per hour, and then I sped all the way over mountains, across rivers, across oceans, and even finished the Dakar rally. When I woke up from my dream, I was driving at my current level. Do you believe it? My driving skills were actually trained in that dream in the Alto," Qingguang said with a sincere face. Zhong Bai's mouth was wide open, and he looked at Qingguang in a daze. He subconsciously thought that the God of Racing might be joking, but looking at his serious expression, it didn't seem like he was joking. Lu Fei and the others who had been hiding outside the car window and peeking inside, were shocked by Zhong Bai's expression. Lu Fei was speechless. What did Qingguang say? Zhong Bai's face was full of shock. No wonder he's the God of Racing. With just a few words he scared Zhong Bai, this brat. The others nodded. Amazing. Really amazing. No wonder he's the God of Racing. This group of people was also pitiful. If they knew the real reason why Zhong Bai's mouth was wide open, they would probably vomit 3 liters of blood. Zhong Bai, who was inside, was dumbfounded for a long time. He didn't expect the God of Racing's real situation to be like this. He looked at the people who were still waiting in line outside to listen to his teachings, and for a moment he didn't know what to do. On the other side, Qingguang finally had a flash of inspiration, and he thought of an idea that could deal with it. He suddenly clapped his hands and said, "I got it." Zhong Bai was startled again. "What is it?" Qingguang laughed. "I thought about it. Although I don't know how to teach you, the old man's driving skills are not to be underestimated. Besides, you just signed up for my training class. There are so many people here today, and it's not worthwhile for me to teach them one by one. I don't have that ability and you won't be able to learn it, and the time doesn't allow for it. So let's do it this way. I'll drive here and you figure out how to observe my driving methods and movements. How much you can learn and comprehend is your ability. If you can't learn or comprehend it, don't blame me and I won't be responsible. My driving skills are natural and words can't describe them. They can only be understood but not explained. After that, without waiting for Zhong Bai to say anything, Qin Guang suddenly started the car and rushed forward. He thought of something again and continued, "This Fengquan mountain racetrack is 20 kilometers long. If everyone raced back and forth, we would have to run 880 kilometers today. There's not enough time. You make the arrangements. After the two of us set off, ask 11 people to follow us in their own cars. I'll send you to the finish line, and then change people to run back from the finish line. Everyone only runs one way, not back and forth. Do you have any objections?" Qin Guang's thoughts lit up, especially when he used righteous words to bluff. All of a sudden, Qin Guang felt more confident. He even brought out the racing god's aura, which instantly changed the way he spoke. Zhong Bai nodded fiercely like a child being taught a lesson. He only sighed in his heart. This is the real racing god. Domineering. Mighty. If I say so, I won't discuss it with you at all. If you recognize it, then admit it. If you don't, then admit it. He will definitely leave and won't waste his breath on ordinary people like you. Chapter 164. At first, Qin Guang was not very familiar with the performance and control of Zhong Bai's car, so he held back when he ran. Zhong Bai still felt that it was a little boring. But as time went by, when Qin Guang gradually figured out the performance of the Ferrari FF, the situation gradually changed. After 5 kilometers, Qin Guang's speed became faster and faster, and he didn't like to slow down when he was passing corners. Zhong Bai saw it clearly. His heel was clearly on the brake, and the rear of the car was also emitting billowing smoke and dust from the friction of the tires on the side of the road, and the car was also drifting sideways. But Zhong Bai couldn't understand why he had to slow down when they were both drifting, but the racing god didn't slow down at all. Yes, his right foot is still on the accelerator, but when I drift, my right foot is also on the accelerator. What's the difference? The key was that he could always control the limit of flying, and let the Ferrari charge through all kinds of U-shaped corners, S-shaped corners, or Z-shaped corners. Zhong Bai didn't dare to relax for even a second. His eyes drifted to the road in front of him, and then he observed the dazzling operation of Qin Guang's hands shifting gears, handbrake, and turning the steering wheel. Too fast. Too fast. I can't see it clearly at all. Zhong Bai originally planned to not let go of Qin Guang's leg movements, but later, no matter how his eyes drifted, he found that he could only look here and forget there. This was not only his biggest pain. He was also wearing a seatbelt, and he was also an expert in Wujing City's racing scene. Sitting in his own car, he almost fainted from being thrown around. Compared to Qin Guang, Zhong Bai felt that his years of racing were all wasted. He was driving an old car. From the beginning to the end, Zhong Bai, who claimed to have a good foundation, felt like he was reading a book from heaven. When he finally came back to his senses, the Ferrari FF had already screeched to a stop on the finish line. He unbuckled his seatbelt and got out of the car. Qin Guang stretched his body and sighed. Not bad. It's much better than my crappy Rena. Have you checked your watch? With Qin Guang's reminder, Zhong Bai, who was still in a trance, suddenly reacted. He pressed the stopwatch and then stared blankly at Qin Guang. 8 minutes, 43 seconds, and 7 seconds. Then he took out his phone and did some calculations. He gasped. The average speed is 137.48. Qin Guang grinned. How does this compare to your usual results? In fact, Qin Guang himself was not very satisfied. After all, he could reach a few hundred kilometers per hour in a small broken Alto. Today he had switched to a Ferrari FF, a super sports car, but he could only reach a speed of 130 kilometers per hour. His performance was terrible, and he did not know if the group of rich second-generation heirs would be satisfied. Zhong Bai was completely dumbfounded. Brother Racing God? He was so scared that he called him Brother Racing God again. Usually, when we run by ourselves, we can reach an average speed of more than 90 kilometers per hour, and that's already putting our lives on the line. You're so fast that it's completely unreasonable. Although this Phoenix Spring Mountain is not as thrilling as the Akina Mountain racetrack in the anime, it's not far from it. You're even crazier than Takumi Fujiwara. You're a living legend. Zhong Bai felt a little dizzy. Then he remembered that in the first half of the journey, this man was still trying to figure out the performance of his car and drove with a suppressed temper. Only in the last 3/4 of the journey did he really speed up. Zhong Bai felt even more terrified. This was only his second time driving this racetrack. This result was far from his limit. When I checked my watch just now, he had already gotten out of the car and stretched. He had wasted at least 10 to 20 seconds. I didn't even realize that the speed was so amazing when I was in the car. Only after I got out of the car did I realize how amazing it was. No wonder he couldn't catch up with his broken Rena that day. He didn't check his watch that day. Now that I think about it, he basically didn't slow down when he was driving the Rena, and he ran at an average speed of more than 100 kilometers per hour. It would be a miracle if he could catch up. Seeing that he managed to intimidate the other party, Qin Guang was satisfied. Naturally, he didn't have to be as excited as a modified Alto. In any case, he just had to deal with it, and it was fine as long as he could deal with it. Did you learn anything? Qin Guang looked at him expectantly. Zhong Bai blushed and subconsciously wanted to nod, but then he turned his face away awkwardly. Basically, I didn't learn anything. Your movements were too fast. I couldn't remember them at all. I couldn't even see them clearly. Qin Guang shrugged. You can't blame me for that, right? Anyway, I was out of form. Zhong Bai looked up at the sky and sighed. It wasn't that he didn't work hard when he was young, but that his mentor was too violent. After waiting for about 7 to 8 minutes, the other 11 cars caught up one after another. When this group of people arrived, they were all shocked by Zhong Bai's absent-minded look. After hearing Zhong Bai talk about how Qin Guang had run for 8 minutes and 43 seconds, all of them looked at Qin Guang with a completely different expression. Those who had witnessed Qin Guang racing with Reno were still fine, since they were at least mentally prepared. However, those who hadn't been here last time felt that Qin Guang wasn't looking at a person, but a god. Qin Guang moved his body slightly, looked at the time and smiled. While I'm in a good state, hurry up. Who's next? Run 2 more times before noon, and finish early in the afternoon. 8 minutes later, another guy broke down. This guy's level was much lower than Zhong Bai's, and he didn't even see Qin Guang's movements clearly. Moreover, Qin Guang first used Zhong Bai's Ferrari FF to get used to the performance of a supercar. Now that he switched to this Mercedes-Benz SLS, it didn't seem to be much different. He was very fast from the beginning and maintained his speed until the end. However, this group of people wasn't completely devoid of experts. Qin Guang vaguely remembered that about 10 people, there was a guy driving a Nissan GTR. Although this guy's car looked the lowest on the surface, he was the most diligent. The performance of the GTR was not bad to begin with, and he had magically modified it even more. The actual value of this supercar should be at least 5 million, and it even had its own nitrogen injection to accelerate. However, when Qin Guang had magically modified the Alto, he didn't try this thing. After all, this car was very valuable, and he was afraid that something would happen to it, so he suppressed his curiosity and didn't touch it. When he was actually driving, Qin Guang felt that the car was indeed very good. He easily finished the race within 8 minutes, which was the best result of the day. This guy's eyes were fixed on Qin Guang from the beginning to the end. He was smarter than Zhong Bai, and knew that he wouldn't learn anything if he looked at the road and the people at the same time. So, he simply paid attention to the small details of Qin Guang's operation. When he sent this guy to the finish line, Qin Guang looked at the guy's sparkling eyes, and knew that this guy was really going to be enlightened. Chapter 165. Why, how much have you learned? I feel a little bit, but I'm afraid I have to practice more later. Maybe I can reach half of your level. This young man was modest. Well, there are so many people today, I'm afraid you didn't learn for nothing. Qin Guang laughed and got on the next car. With such a young man as his backing, at least his tuition today was not in vain. Again, the master show, you guys just watch the fun. Whether you can learn it or not, I don't care. Lu Fei and her Porsche 918 Spyder seemed to have been pushed to the last by her own request. She was smart enough to wait for Qin Guang to finish her last lap. He had to go back to school, right? At that time, she would let him drive her car back to school. Compared to other people's mere 20 kilometers of tutorials, it was worth the ticket price. As for Qin Guang's 100,000 yuan in cash, he had already transferred it to his PayPal account during lunch. This money was easy and pleasant to earn. It was nothing more than changing different cars and strolling repeatedly on the Phoenix Spring Mountain racetrack. The workload was similar to that of opening the internet, but the income was like heaven and earth. It could not be mentioned in the same breath. The driving skills that Qin Guang showed today were already divine in the eyes of Zhong Bai and the others, but compared to Qin Guang's realm in the cup world when he had 100 resurrection chances, it was still worlds apart. This made Qin Guang sigh. In this world, no matter what you do, you have to be professional. As long as you show the top professional standards, even if you just casually drive a car, you can earn 100,000 yuan a day. Is this the divine pencil sharpening skill? Sigh, forget about that damn divine skill. It doesn't even feel good to show off. Sitting in the driver's seat of Lu Fei's Porsche 918 Spyder, Qin Guang tried hard to restrain his emotions, striving to make himself look like a real god of racing. He must not let others see his slightly embarrassing situation at this time. When he was in the other Lamborghini, he had asked the young man how much Ruffy's car was worth. When he finally found out the truth, he almost burst into tears. The entire car was imported. Even if a button on the control panel was broken, the original parts had to be handmade by foreign craftsmen. There were only 918 cars in the world, and the entire car was worth 15 million. There was no way to be friends with this woman. Damn, my heart is so tired. It's so tiring to be friends with a real nouveau riche. Lu Fei didn't know that Qin Guang was feeling sad. She rolled down the window and said to Zhong Bai and the others with a smile, "You guys go back to your own homes first and understand yourselves. The rest of Brother Racing God's time belongs to me. Brother Qin Guang has accompanied us for the whole day. It's time to go back to school." Cunning. Despicable. Shameless. I mean, Sister Lu Fei, why are you so benevolent and righteous to take the initiative to be the last one? Lu Fei was extremely proud of herself. She pointed to her head and said, "As a person you have to use your brain more. That's why I can buy a 918, but you guys can only drive your lousy Gallardo. Alright, that's it. Go and stay where it's cool." The dejected Qin Guang listened to Lu Fei's words and suddenly said, "If you want to take care of me, this will count as overtime. You'll have to pay more." Lu Fei laughed and patted Qin Guang's shoulder again and again. "Brother Qin Guang, you're so humorous. You really know how to joke. Do you think I don't understand the meaning of overtime? Those little bastards dare to say anything in front of me. Alright, let's hurry up and go. I can't wait anymore. Damn it. I'm not joking. You should be more serious." Qin Guang complained in his heart, but Lu Fei had already fastened her seatbelt. She then rubbed her hands and stared at him with a face full of expectation, waiting for him to start. "This unlucky girl, why can't you understand human language? Why is your comprehension ability so low? You can't expect a man like me to really open my mouth and ask you for extra money, right? You should have some eyesight, right? Brother Qin Guang, are your eyes uncomfortable? Why do you keep blinking? I have some eye drops here. F***ck your eye drops. I'm not happy." "Brother Qin Guang, didn't Zhong Bai and the others just say that you only took 8 minutes to finish the Fengquan Mountain racetrack? What? Why are you running at 60 kilometers per hour now? What do you know? I didn't teach them seriously. I just wanted to finish the race quickly. You're different. I'll teach you well, so drive slowly. You learn a little. This is my real ability." Lu Fei was overjoyed. "Alright. I'll learn seriously." Then Qin Guang silently drove the Porsche 918 to the school gate at a speed of up to 80 kilometers per hour and 60 to 70 kilometers per hour most of the time. Until Qin Guang got out of the car and left, Lu Fei was still desperately trying to figure out Qin Guang's so-called real ability. That's strange. There's something wrong with his speed all the way here? No matter how I look at it, he feels like a new driver who just got his license. 10,000 question marks popped up in Lu Fei's mind and she could not figure it out. Finally, she clapped her hands fiercely. Sigh. It must be because my level is too low and I can't see the true meaning behind his seemingly ordinary operation. A real racing god has to start from the most basic of basic skills. He must have hidden the unique skill that he wanted to teach me in the most ordinary driving. It's like listening to thunder in silence. Zhong Bai called to ask about the situation. "Sister Lu Fei, have you arrived yet? What did Brother Qin Guang teach you after that? Why did you arrive so late?" Lu Fei shook her head proudly. "Can you compare to me? Who am I? What Brother Qin Guang taught me is a unique skill. Real ability." "What? Real ability?" Zhong Bai's eyes widened in envy. Lu Fei was very proud of herself. Although she did not understand Qin Guang's so-called real ability, it did not stop her from feeling proud even though she did not understand it. If she knew that Qin Guang was only playing with her Porsche 918 because he was mentally unbalanced and was shocked by her rich spirit, she would not be happy at all. Of course, Qin Guang was not spouting nonsense. This was indeed his real ability. When he returned to the dormitory, it was about 6 o'clock in the evening. Pushing open the dormitory door, Lin Jingwei and the other two were not playing games, but were gathered in front of Bai Fan's computer screen, not knowing what they were doing. Bai Nyangzi chuckled as he dragged the mouse around, while the other two were pointing at the screen non-stop. The three of them whispered to each other like thieves, their faces rippling with wretched expressions. Qin Guang cursed in his heart. It was simply shameful. In broad daylight, under the bright sky, they actually gathered to watch something not suitable for children. Unforgivable. And they did not even call me. What are the three of you doing? What are you looking at? Why do you look so excited? whose network disk was cracked again. Did someone lose their phone or computer? He rushed forward and shouted. Unexpectedly, the three of them were more nervous than he was. They turned their heads and looked at him as if they had seen a ghost for a few seconds, then they all shouted at the same time. Oh. F***CK. My ears. Qin Guang pushed the three to the side and moved closer to the computer. He finally saw clearly what the three of them were doing. His face suddenly turned gloomy. Zhong Bai's smashing of the car was filmed by someone and uploaded to the school's website. Chapter 166. If it was only Zhong Bai and the others who took pictures, it would be fine. However, Qin Guang couldn't get away with it from the beginning to the end. During the whole process of the bystanders taking pictures or recording, Qin Guang was almost always at the center of the camera. There was no doubt that he became a typical character. A domineering student led a group of second-generation rich kids to beat people up and smash cars in public. They were arrogant and domineering. Even if the incident happened outside the school, even if the one who was beaten up was a second-generation rich kid, the weak side would naturally get the sympathy of the bystanders because Dong Tao was really pitiful at that time. If it was just this incident alone, perhaps Qin Guang's identity wouldn't be exposed so quickly. However, the post about Qin Guang falling into the water in the morning was exposed by Dong Tao. When the posts on both sides were put together, the matter immediately became more lively. Within a day, he became a hot topic on the school forum twice in a row. This time, it was impossible for Qin Guang not to become famous. In the dormitory, the wretched look on the face of the third grandson just now was all kinds of fancy comments on the pile of hot posts on the internet. The three of them were also big-hearted. They knew that the matter wasn't that serious. Although many posters and replies were splashing dirty water on Qin Guang, this incident happened outside the school. Secondly, Qin Guang didn't really participate in the process of smashing the car from the beginning to the end, so the slander couldn't stand. As for the scene of him beating up Dong Tao because it happened too quickly, the bystanders didn't have time to take pictures. Most of the photos and videos were taken from when Zhong Bai and the others smashed the car. After all, the latter half was the climax and only then was it worth watching. The fight at the beginning was too sloppy and ordinary. Therefore, although this matter was very big and very lively, in fact, Qin Guang could completely ignore it. With the passage of time, this matter would slowly be forgotten. You three are really calm. It's already like this and you still don't know how to inform me. Qin Guang was angry. Lin Jingwei calmly pointed to the corpse of Popcorn 4S that was still hanging on the windowsill. It was almost ready to be buried. What if we used telepathy to inform you? You're not even online when you're outside. Are you blaming us? If you don't believe me, you can log into QQ and take a look. I can guarantee that the messages we sent to you have already exploded. Okay, let's just leave it at that. There are so many trivial matters. Fortunately, I made a small fortune today and am in a good mood. I don't care about this trivial matter and let it pass by itself. Thinking of the 100,000 yuan in his PayPal account, Qin Guang was in a good mood again. He just had to wait for the 6p popcorn to arrive tomorrow, and then he would transfer the money to his father's card as soon as possible. In this way, there would be 300,000 yuan in the card, which was more than enough to support the surgery until the day of the transplant. As for the payment to the donor, of course it was Patek Philippe. Suddenly Lin Jingwei's phone rang. When he picked up the call, he snorted into the phone while looking at Qin Guang, who was about to turn on his computer and play games with a weird gaze. Qin Guang was creeped out by his gaze. He felt that something bad was about to happen. Sure enough, Lin Jingwei hung up the phone and looked at him with a sneer. Brother Guang, go downstairs. Teacher Zhua has been looking for you all day. She's waiting for you downstairs. You should think about how to deal with her. You also know that Teacher Zhua is very concerned about the collective image of the class. I'm afraid you won't have a good time this time. Obviously, although Lin Jingwei and the others knew that nothing would really happen to Qin Guang, they all felt that Teacher Zhua would definitely give him a good scolding. After all, the student in her class had become a negative example and tarnished her reputation as the new counselor. Qin Guang sighed and drank some water. He braced himself and stood up. If it's a blessing, it's not a curse. If it's a curse, it can't be avoided. Brothers, pour me a glass of wine and congratulate me on my triumphant return. With a perturbed mood, Qin Guang went downstairs. Sure enough, Zhua Jingxi was standing at the entrance of the dormitory with a gloomy face. Teacher Zhua, it's so late. Why don't you get off work and go home to rest? Qin Guang chuckled as he stood in front of Zhua Jingxi. Zhua Jingxi glared at him, but did not say anything to him at the entrance of the dormitory. Instead, she suddenly turned around and walked into the grove next to her. she said faintly, let's talk over here. Following behind Zhuo Jingxi, Qin Guang looked at the beautiful counselor's swaying and graceful back view. However, he felt a chill down his spine. It was a dark and windy night. He was going to teach her a lesson. When they arrived at the grove, Qin Guang was pondering how to teach her a lesson when Zhuo Jingxi suddenly turned around. Qin Guang thought that she was going to make a move. He quickly jumped back and crossed his hands in front of his chest, assuming a standard defensive posture. Unexpectedly, Zhuo Jingxi only looked at him with red eyes and said in a muffled voice, "Why are you so worrisome? You were so smart before. You knew that Wang Ren would want to deal with you. It's already at this juncture, why don't you know how to restrain yourself? What if Wang Ren gets hold of your weakness?" Qin Guang was stunned. He thought that Zhuo Jingxi was going to scold him, but he did not expect that she was worried that Wang Ren would take the opportunity to stir up trouble. "Hey, I thought you were going to do something by being so fierce. Wang Ren? How could I not know what Fatty Wang is capable of? Don't worry, he can't do anything to me." "What are you saying? You were fighting in public and smashing cars in public. How vile is that? Why are you still so indifferent?" Zhuo Jingxi was more anxious than Qin Guang himself. Qin Guang laughed. "Teacher Zhuo, although you said that, I've seen the video that those people took online. Did you see me make a move? The cause and effect of the matter are not as exaggerated as those people on the internet say." Then Qin Guang told Zhuo Jingxi everything that had happened at the school gate. After Zhuo Jingxi listened, she was still worried. "Strictly according to what you said, it was indeed Dong Tao who provoked first. Smashing cars was also done by those rich young masters. It has nothing to do with you. But you fought with Dong Tao before and you made a move." Qin Guang said again, "So, if Wang Ren wants to cause trouble for me no matter what happens on the internet, he has to have evidence and a reason. As long as Dong Tao doesn't jump out to testify against me, this matter has nothing to do with me from beginning to end. As for whether Dong Tao dares to testify against me, I think there's no need to worry at all. If Teacher Zhuo had seen that pile of business cards, you would definitely think the same as me." Zhuo Jingxi finally let out a long sigh of relief and patted her chest. "I was worried to death. But how did you get to know those rich young masters?" Qin Guang raised his hand. "Have you forgotten? Didn't I injure my hand a few days ago because I was trying to save that kid who was the most active? With this friendship that has gone through life and death together, if something really happens he will definitely come out and clean my ass." With this, the cause and effect of the matter were all clear, and Zhuo Jingxi's heart was completely relieved. When she heard Qin Guang's last words about cleaning up his mess, she blushed slightly, but pretended not to understand. "Okay, then let's not talk about this for now. But you still have to be careful. I have a feeling that Fatty Wang has been playing tricks recently, and it's very likely that it's targeting you. Just come at me. I'll deal with whatever comes at me. I've never been afraid of him." Qin Guang still had the same attitude. Zhuo Jingxi rolled her eyes at him. "If I didn't know about your family situation, I would have thought that you have some amazing background." "Ah, what kind of background can I have? I'm not afraid of a crooked shadow, and that's my biggest background." "Okay, there's nothing else. You can go back to the dormitory. I should go home too." Zhuo Jingxi waved her hand and was about to go back to the dormitory with Qin Guang, but the moment she took a step forward, she suddenly screamed, "Ah!" Then, as if she had suffered a great shock, she fiercely pounced on Qin Guang and posed like an octopus, wrapping herself around Qin Guang's body like an old tree. Chapter 167. Inexplicably attacked, Qin Guang really became a dead tree that couldn't move. He stood rooted to the ground with a blank look on his face. He felt that his brain wasn't working properly. They had just finished talking about business, but this beautiful counselor's style changed a little too quickly. Even if the old man had long been looking forward to it, she should at least give him some time and space to prepare. "Your confession came too suddenly, too fiercely. What should I do?" Qin Guang raised his hands slightly, his palms forming claws in the air. He really didn't know what to do. Should he follow Zhuo Jingxi's movements and hug her back tightly, or should he put on a righteous look, push her away and tell her, "Teacher, I'm not the kind of person you think I am"? Of course, the latter thought could perfectly protect his image of a gentleman, but wouldn't it be too cruel to himself? A faint fragrance seemed to flow out of Zhuo Jingxi's body as she trembled slightly. It fiercely rushed into Qin Guang's nose, as if someone was using a green foxtail to tickle his nose. It was numb and extremely itchy. Not only that, but Zhuo Jingxi's figure was already tall and voluptuous. Her whole body pounced on him like this. The two mountains of Wangwu and Taihang weighed more than 1,000 pounds. Her huge breasts pressed hard on his chest, making it hard for him to breathe. That wasn't enough. Even more shameful was that her legs were already hanging in the air, tightly wrapped around Qin Guang's thighs. This meant that not only was her upper body impacted, but the lower half of their bodies were also tightly pressed together. Qin Guang's breathing gradually became heavier. The dragon was about to raise its head on the 2nd of February. Fortunately, his willpower was strong enough. He knew that he would definitely be doomed tonight. He touched his pocket and found that he still had a few $100s in cash. After he got out of here, $300 should be enough to book a room at the hotel opposite the school, right? Sigh, it's a pity that I don't have my phone anymore. Otherwise, I could use my phone app to book a room with just a twitch of my finger. I might even get a 20% discount or something. Nowadays the economy is in a slump. Every little bit saved counts. Thinking of this, the huge dragon couldn't bear the pressure and slowly raised its head, as if it was going to roar at the sky. Snake. Snake. Qin Guang. It's a snake. Just as Qin Guang's mind was beginning to picture the scene of the 300 rounds of bloody battle later, Zhuo Jingxi once again yelled at the top of her lungs. This time it wasn't a meaningless scream. Instead, she pointed at Qin Guang's back and spoke with a trembling voice. What? Snake? Qin Guang's face darkened. After all this time, you suddenly hugged me not because you wanted to confess. Slowly turning his head, Qin Guang followed the direction of Zhuo Jingxi's finger. Sure enough, he saw a small spotted snake about 2 feet long coiled on the tree trunk behind him. Its neck was bent and its head was facing the two of them. The snake hissed and flicked its tongue, looking like it was about to attack. A mere 2 feet long snake dares to bare its fangs and brandish its claws in front of the old man? Do you think I don't know what's good for you? This thing looks scary, but it's nothing more than a non-venomous cauliflower snake. It's only 2 feet long and it's not even an adult. If you want to fight with me, cultivate for another 1,500 years. When you reach Bai Sujin's level, come find me. Do you know that the old man is the dignified master of the heavenly Holy Grail, the savior of the Emperor of the Azure, and the strongest man with countless main character halos? Just as Qin Guang turned around and saw this little thing and was about to take off his shoe to scare it away, the little snake suddenly took the initiative to make the first move. It sprang forward and pounced over, courting death. Qin Guang's eyes widened in anger, and his murderous aura rose again. His right hand stretched out like lightning, and he used the pencil-sharpening divine skill that he had painstakingly practiced but had never been able to use. Although he did not have a knife in his hand, having no knife was better than having one. He used 2 of his fingers as a blade, and with the steady, accurate and ruthless aura he had when sharpening a pencil, he used the little snake's head as the tip of a pencil and sliced it horizontally. Ouch. Then he bit 2 of the fingers on his right hand. It hurts a little. Qin Guang immediately jumped up and broke free from Zhuo Jingxi's entanglement. His other hand quickly reached out and grabbed the snake's weak spot and shook it. After a long time he finally managed to save his fingers. Then he grabbed the snake's tail and whipped it violently, hitting the little snake's head against the tree trunk. It was unknown whether it was dead or unconscious. Done. After he succeeded, Qin Guang clapped his hands proudly. Good, this snake's head was very small, and its teeth were even smaller. The wound on its finger was about the same size as a small hole made by a finger during a blood test. It was not considered serious. Zhuo Jingxi looked at his finger that was still bleeding, and no one knew what was going through her mind. She suddenly grabbed his finger, stuffed it into her mouth and started sucking. Every time she sucked, she spat out a mouthful of blood on the ground. After a long time, Zhuo Jingxi's face was completely red. It was unknown whether it was from exhaustion or shyness. She stared straight at Qin Guang and said, "Are you okay? Is there any more poison?" Qin Guang rolled his eyes. "I was fine, but if you keep sucking like this for a while, I'll have to go to the hospital for a blood transfusion. I'm a little dizzy. I think I'm anemic." Teacher Zhuo, this snake is called a cauliflower snake in my hometown. It's not poisonous. Why didn't you say so earlier? I saw that you were quite into it, so I didn't have the heart to interrupt you. In the end, it was a false alarm. Zhuo Jingxi came with the intention of denouncing him, but she left with a red face. Qin Guang braced himself and came, but he left with a few small bloody holes on his finger. He did not know who won and who lost. At this time, the 2 of them did not know that Wang Ren was indeed looking for trouble with Qin Guang. Moreover, the evidence he had was not limited to what happened yesterday. The next day, the first class in the morning had just ended. When the whole class was preparing to return to their dorms, they saw Wang Ren and a large group of people blocking the classroom entrance. Zhuo Jingxi, who was in the crowd, desperately tried to signal Chen Guang with her eyes, but to no avail. Vice Dean Han was also in the crowd. His face was full of impatience, but he was pulled by Wang Ren and did not let him go. Chen Guang knew in his heart that this Wang Ren was really looking for trouble, but he was not in a hurry. He casually walked to the classroom entrance, pretending not to see this group of people, and was about to walk past them. Chen Guang. Stop right there. Today Wang Ren seemed to be very confident. He suddenly turned to the side and stood in front of Chen Guang. He shouted sternly, and there was a bit of an awe-inspiring aura. What business does Director Wang have with me? Chen Guang stood where he was and greeted him calmly. Wang Ren first turned around to take a few glances at the people behind him, who Wang Ren didn't know what their positions were in the academy. He then turned around and said, Chen Guang, you gathered a crowd to fight, bullied a fellow student, and had a very bad influence. The school believes that you have seriously violated the school's rules. Chen Guang raised his eyebrows, and then? Fatty Wang was about to speak, but Sun Xiaoxuan, who was behind Chen Guang, had already taken the lead to make a scene. This petite, seemingly weak girl from Jiangnan suddenly squeezed between Chen Guang and Wang Ren. She looked straight at Wang Ren and said loudly, I am Sun Xiaoxuan, the class monitor of the Environmental Sciences course. I know Chen Guang's situation the best. Director Wang, there must be some misunderstanding. Everyone in our Environmental Sciences course knows that Chen Guang is upright and warm-hearted. He is definitely not someone who gathered a crowd to fight and bullied a fellow student like you said. You must have made a mistake somewhere. Chapter 168. Sun Xiaoxuan's sudden outburst was beyond everyone's expectations, not even Chen Guang. At this moment she was like an enraged cow protecting her calf, baring her fangs and brandishing her claws in front of Wang Ren. She glared at Wang Ren, whom many girls in the academy secretly regarded as a scourge, without the slightest bit of fear. Wang Ren was stunned for a moment, and so were the school leaders and staff he brought to support him. Before coming here, Wang Ren had repeatedly emphasized to them that Chen Guang was aggressive, hot-tempered, and disobedient. He was likely to be difficult to deal with. That was why he called so many people to create pressure on Chen Guang so that he would willingly follow everyone to the conference room. At that time, they would decide how to punish him according to his repentant attitude and situation. In the end, Chen Guang hadn't even spoken yet, but Sun Xiaoxuan, a well-known and excellent student in the academy, had jumped out. Wang Ren and everyone else looked at each other, feeling like they were in a difficult position. Xiaozhua, control your students. Wang Ren had no choice but to vent his anger on Zhuo Jingxi. Zhuo Jingxi turned her face to the side and didn't even bother to look at Wang Ren. She couldn't wait for Sun Xiaoxuan to be more violent, so that Wang Ren wouldn't be able to do anything today. Chen Guang patted Sun Xiaoxuan's shoulder from behind. Class rep, you go to the back. We all know what kind of person Fatty Wang is. I don't want you to be targeted by him. As soon as Chen Guang said this, the environmental engineering class behind him wanted to laugh but couldn't. They wanted to laugh because Wang Ren was exposed by Chen Guang in public. They couldn't laugh because they thought of the poor girl from last year. Moreover, Sun Xiaoxuan was standing on the opposite side of Wang Ren, so everyone was subconsciously worried for Sun Xiaoxuan. Sun Xiaoxuan still wanted to say something, but Chen Guang suddenly put his mouth next to her ear and said, I'm really fine. You go to the back first. Perhaps Chen Guang's words were magical, because Sun Xiaoxuan actually retreated in a daze. Chen Guang, show some respect to the school teachers. Wang Ren was instantly enraged that Chen Guang was called Fatty Wang before so many people. Chen Guang glanced at him. The Fatty Wang I'm talking about might not be you. I can't do anything about it if you insist. Looking at you today, you won't stop until you show me some power, right? But if you want to come to me with a few empty words and treat me like a policeman arresting a criminal, I don't agree with your reasoning. So go back to where you came from. Others might be afraid of you, but I'm not. Wang Ren's eyes widened in anger at Chen Guang's rebuke. He was so angry that he almost choked on his breath. It took him a long time to calm down. He finally thought of something and turned his gaze to the crowd behind Chen Guang. Pan Zhang's buddies, who had been hiding in the crowd and pretending to disappear, couldn't sit still, but they still didn't want to move. Wang Ren coughed fiercely again. Finally, someone stood up. It was Ren Yuan. He took a deep breath and shouted, Director Wang, even if Chen Guang really did beat Pan Zhang into the hospital and make him quit school, we are still students. The school doesn't have to punish students like this, right? It's not good to do it in public. You're talking nonsense. You clearly know that Pan Zhang wanted to. Sun Xiaoxuan was anxious, but he couldn't finish his words. He found it a little difficult to say it out loud. Ren Yuan continued to say, "Class rep, we all know that you like Qin Guang. But the conflict between Qin Guang and Pan Jiang has nothing to do with you. The two of them have a deep grudge in class and everyone knows that." "Ren Yuan, you're lying through your teeth. Do you really not know why Pan Jiang was beaten? Didn't you see it with your own eyes that day?" Lin Jingwei was standing next to Ren Yuan. As soon as this grandson finished speaking, Lin Jingwei grabbed his collar from the side. Xiong'er had already raised his fist. "Okay. I was wondering why that damn fatty Wang Ren came looking for trouble. So it's you bastards who became his traitors. I'll beat you up." There were still so many people watching. He couldn't let that idiot Xiong'er hit him in public. Qin Guang reacted quickly. He hurriedly pounced on Xiong'er's back and pulled him back. "What are you being impulsive for? Lin Jingwei, you let go too." With Qin Guang's roar, Lin Jingwei and Xiong'er immediately calmed down and stopped making a fuss. "Ren Yuan, you're very good. Very good." Qin Guang stood in front of Ren Yuan and looked at him coldly. From Ren Yuan's expression, there was a sense of helplessness. However, he only turned his face to the side and didn't look at Qin Guang anymore. Turning back, Qin Guang grinned and said, "Director Wang, I'll go with you." Fatty Wang's face finally revealed a cunning smile. He thought to himself that he had already prepared everything. Ren Yuan and the others had also settled everything. When they reached the academy building, the best result for Qin Guang today would be to give him a big demerit. If he was still so arrogant at that time, he might even be expelled. At this time, Vice President Han finally spoke. This old man had been watching the situation from the side with cold eyes. He came in front of Qin Guang and patted his shoulder. He said sincerely and earnestly, "Young people shouldn't be too impulsive. Don't worry, the academy will make a decision based on the actual situation. When the time comes, you just have to state the truth. I promise I won't wrong a good student." How could old man Han not understand Wang Ren's plan? However, he himself was the person with the highest position here. He also thought highly of Qin Guang. When he said this, he had already secretly made up his mind. If it really came to that, he would come forward to forcefully protect Qin Guang. At least he absolutely couldn't let him get expelled. Wang Ren watched coldly from the side. He didn't seem to care much about old man Han's attitude. Qin Guang nodded, but his brows were still furrowed. Through Ren Yuan's actions just now, he had already roughly guessed Fatty Wang's plan. "Let's go, Qin Guang." Fatty Wang stretched out his hand to pull Qin Guang. However, Qin Guang glared at him and he shyly withdrew his hand. "We're going too." Bai Fan shouted at the top of his lungs. "This isn't Qin Guang's personal matter. The whole class is a witness." Sun Xiaoxuan was about to say something, but Qin Guang suddenly pulled her skirt and whispered in her ear, "Class monitor, do me a favor. I'm afraid I won't have a chance to make a phone call later. My new phone hasn't come yet, and I'm too lazy to use someone else's phone to change my number. Quickly help me go to Wenxing Town Police Station and find Officer Wu Tong. Just say that the school plans to use Pan Zhang's matter to punish me. She will know what to do." "She will help you?" Chapter 169. Did you forget? Didn't she ask us to go to Pan Zhang's ward the next day and arrest his father as well? Actually, I had already decided that it was a good Samaritan, but I still had to pay for it. That's why I didn't tell you in detail, afraid that you'd feel bad about it." "I see." Qin Guang nodded heavily. "So you can go find him and come back as soon as you find him." Sun Xiaoxuan's eyes lit up. "That's right. To Wang Ren it was a brawl, but to Officer Wu, it was a good Samaritan." By the time Officer Wu arrived, no matter how much Wang Ren tried to jump around, the Wenxing Branch Bureau's investigation would make Wang Ren a clown. Who knew, the academy might even reward Qin Guang for this matter. But what about yesterday's incident? Sun Xiaoxuan obviously knew about yesterday's incident. Qin Guang waved his hand indifferently. Dong Tao didn't come today, which means yesterday's incident didn't affect him at all. Fatty Wang must have only one trick up his sleeve. "Hurry up and come back, we're waiting for you to save our lives." Sun Xiaoxuan calmed down. Looking at Wang Ren's smug face, he felt like he was a clown. "What are you guys mumbling about? Hurry up and go." Wang Ren became impatient when he saw that Qin Guang didn't move. Sun Xiaoxuan quietly retreated to the back of the crowd. Qin Guang raised his head and glared at Fatty Wang. "Are you rushing me? Fatty Wang?" Zhuo Jingxi quickly pulled him back. All right. Calm down. How am I going to help you with your attitude?" After another commotion, A group of people walked majestically toward the academy building, attracting a lot of attention along the way. Those with keen eyesight and information sources recognized Qin Guang, who was walking in the middle, and whispered amongst themselves. This guy is that Qin Guang from yesterday's school forum, right? Looks like he's going to get his comeuppance. I think something's wrong. Do you see the person walking in front who looks like an official? Do you know him? Who's that? Wang Ren, the infamous scumbag of the school. That's the one who forced me to death. Shoo. Keep your voice down. Don't let that guy hear you. Otherwise, even if we're not from the same academy, he can still use his connections to find trouble with us. Sigh, he's been targeted by that scum. That Qin Guang is going to be in big trouble this time. Qin Guang didn't care what these bystanders thought. At this time he was very casually chatting with Lin Jingwei. Lin Jingwei moved closer to him and whispered, "Looking at Fatty Wang's attitude, it seems that he wants to get you fired today? When we get there, control your emotions and don't fall into his trap. Even if the matter of beating up Pan Jiang is set in stone, strictly speaking, it can only be a big mistake." Since Qin Guang was confident in his heart, he casually waved his hand and continued, "Don't worry about it. Didn't you notice that there's a very important person missing from our class team?" Lin Jingwei looked left and right and found that Sun Xiaoxuan was indeed gone. "Where did the class monitor go?" Qin Guang chuckled. His eyes drifted in the direction of Wen Xingzhen outside of the school. He whispered, "What do you think Fatty Wang's expression will be when our sister, Officer Wu, arrives later if the police label me as a righteous person? Will he give me a demerit? Want to fire me?" Lin Jingwei understood tacitly. He chuckled, "Brother Guang, you're really something. I really want to see Fatty Wang's expression when he gives you a big slap in the face. Ren Yuan and the others only know that you were taken away by the police. They don't know what happened after that. They definitely didn't expect that you would be judged by Officer Wu, right?" Qin Guang also chuckled. "Of course, just listen to me. Remember not to spill the beans. Also, tell Bai Nyangzi and Xiong Jinke to keep them quiet. If the sky really falls, we can only slap Wang Ren's own face." Lin Jingwei nodded. "No problem. I was scared to death. I almost thought I had to find someone." Qin Guang asked curiously, "Find who?" Wang Ren's grandson looked at Qin Guang with a suspicious expression. Lin Jingwei had already stepped aside and did not answer Qin Guang's question. 10 minutes later, everyone arrived at the school's conference room. It was the same room that Qin Guang's class used to receive the MIT professor. In fact, it was not suitable to punish students in public. However, everyone in the environmental sciences class insisted on entering the conference room, and Wang Ren could not stop them. Vice Director Han stood up to be the peacemaker and finally let everyone in. Wang Ren thought, "It doesn't matter. I'm well prepared and have witnesses and material evidence. Even if these brats make a fuss, it's useless. It's better to let them see clearly what happens when they offend me. It will also make Zhuo Jingxi understand that sooner or later, Monkey Sun will not be able to escape from the palm of Buddha's hand. Even if there is a large group of monkeys standing behind Monkey Sun, it is useless." "Alright. I didn't notice before, but there are quite a lot of beautiful girls in this environmental sciences class. I hope you don't give me any dirt on you in the future. Where is the class monitor who was quite tough just now? That girl is the prettiest. No wonder that idiot Pan Jiang fell for her. Forget it. It's better that she is not here. Without her, the testimony of Ren Yuan and the others will be more authentic. Director Wang, we are already here. Just say what you want to say. Anyway, in my opinion, Qin Guang is excellent in both character and study, and is a rare talent in our school. There must be some misunderstanding about what you said. Clarify the misunderstanding as soon as possible, and this matter will be over." Vice Director Han seemed to have made up his mind. As soon as he sat down, he took the initiative to speak. What he said was to help Qin Guang. Qin Guang gave Vice Director Han a grateful look. Everyone knew that Wang Ren had a strong relationship with the school's higher-ups. It was really rare that Vice Director Han was willing to help him to this extent. Zhuo Jingxi also sat next to Qin Guang. She looked like she was going through thick and thin with him. She said loudly, "Qin Guang is my student. I know him very well. I don't think he is a fierce person. Last time when our class received Professor Schmidt from MIT, you were also there. You saw with your own eyes that Qin Guang won glory for the school and the school. I hope that when Director Wang makes some decisions, you will not disappoint the majority of the students." In fact, she had already made up her mind. If Qin Guang was really expelled because of Wang Ren, she would not be able to continue as a counselor. If Wang Ren got rid of Qin Guang, The next person to be unlucky would definitely be her. Forget it. If he leaves, I'll leave too. As the dean of the school's student affairs department, Wang Ren had to play the leading role in this kind of meeting. However, he was not in a hurry to start the show. Instead, he smiled calmly at Vice Director Han and Zhuo Jingxi. Teacher Zhuo, don't get agitated. Of course, it is not up to me to decide whether it is right or wrong. Everything has to be based on evidence. However, not everyone is here yet. Let's wait a little longer. As soon as he finished speaking, two figures appeared at the door of the conference room. Everyone looked up and was shocked. The principal of the school, Vice Director Tong, and another deputy director, Dang, actually appeared at the door at the same time. What kind of situation was this? There were 3 deans in the school, 1 principal and 2 deputy directors. Because of Qin Guang's matter, they were all gathered together. Chapter 170. Old Han glanced at Wang Ren, and his face suddenly became very gloomy. This was troublesome. Of course, he knew that Deputy Dean Deng was the one who was on Wang Ren's side in the academy. Looking at Dean Tong's unwilling expression, she must have been dragged here by Deputy Dean Deng. If both of them were here, if Wang Ren really made the evidence irrefutable, he wouldn't be able to protect Qin Guang. It's no wonder why Wang Ren dragged me along despite knowing my attitude towards Zhuo Jingxi and Qin Guang. So it turns out that you still have a trump card. Wang Ren, are you trying to take me down a notch? As soon as the 2 deans entered the door, they immediately became the focus of everyone's attention. Dean Tong pressed Deputy Dean Deng behind her without changing her expression. She waved at the crowd and said with a smile, "Recently, the school has been focusing on the construction of the academic atmosphere. I heard that some students in the school have encountered some problems, so I'm just here to listen in. Don't be too nervous, everyone. Today's meeting is still presided over by Director Wang. That student Qin Guang, right? Don't be too nervous. We're a school, a place to educate people, not a court. We always treat students with leniency. As long as the violation is not too serious, anything can be discussed." As expected of Dean Tong, she reacted very quickly. She spoke casually, but then sat on the left side of Old Han as if she hadn't said anything. Deputy Dean Deng also smiled and waved at the crowd. "My attitude is exactly the same as Dean Tong's." After saying that, he sat on the left side of Dean Tong again, and the 3 deans sat together. "Old Han, why are you here first? Is it really so serious?" Dean Tong tilted her head slightly to Old Han's side and asked in a low voice. Old Han was about to say something about Qin Guang's behavior when he received Qin Guang that day, which could be considered as helping Dean Tong to have a good impression of Qin Guang. Deputy Dean Deng suddenly came over and said, "In my opinion, our school's discipline should have been improved a long time ago. Our academy is famous for being a large compound of monks. Males make up the majority of the population. These young fellows are all hot-blooded and vigorous. If we don't properly discipline them, who knows when they will cause a big problem. Even the 3 of us as the deans will not be able to escape responsibility." Old Han's awareness is really high. He came here early in the morning to oversee things, unlike Old Tong. I had to drag him here with great difficulty after I talked about all sorts of things. Old Man Han's mouth twitched and he could only chuckle. Old Deng is right. He turned his face away and began to curse Deputy Director Deng's family in his heart. "Aren't you putting in too much effort to support Wang Ren?" Dean Tong knew that the 2 of them didn't get along. Seeing the situation, she didn't say anything more. Instead, she turned to look at Wang Ren, who was fiddling with the projection equipment on the podium. Before coming here, he had heard about the student's situation from Deputy Dean Deng. He wondered why Wang Ren still had a projector. He couldn't possibly make a PowerPoint presentation to punish a student, right? Was there a need to go through so much trouble? Beneath the stage, Qin Guang looked at Fatty Wang with his eyelids drooping. At this moment he was feeling a little bored. After all, no matter how high Fatty Wang jumped, as long as Wu Tong came, Qin Guang would immediately turn into a clown. Qin Guang covered his yawn with his hand and thought to himself, "I'm a little sleepy." About 2 minutes later, Wang Ren finally finished fiddling with all the skills. He looked at the 3 deans below the podium and faintly showed a hint of pride on his face. "Qin Guang, the show I carefully prepared for you is about to begin." With an incomparably comfortable and expectant mood, Wang Ren turned his gaze to the front row where Qin Guang had just sat. He wanted to see Qin Guang's helpless and panicked look. What? This kid fell asleep on the table. He fell asleep just like that. At this moment, only Qin Guang and Zhuo Jingxi were sitting in the first row of the entire conference room. As for the other students, under Qin Guang's deliberate request, They all moved to the back. Therefore, the appearance of Qin Guang sleeping on the table was particularly eye-catching. Zhuo Jingxi was also confused. She was just a little distracted when Dean Tong and Deputy Dean Deng entered the room. How did this kid fall asleep in front of everyone when she turned around? Are you even the slightest bit nervous? Pa. Wang Ren slapped the podium hard. Qin Guang. Qin Guang slowly opened his eyes and looked at Wang Ren. He yawned again and ignored him. Instead, he turned his head to look at Zhuo Jingxi. Teacher Zhuo, where is he? He was so angry that he laughed. Zhuo Jingxi thought to herself, this guy, Qin Guang, is still deliberately angering Wang Ren at a time like this. It hasn't started yet. Stop pretending to be asleep. Zhuo Jingxi pinched Qin Guang's waist fiercely under the table. She seemed to have used too much strength. Qin Guang's expression changed. He was in so much pain that his mouth twitched. He felt bitter in his heart. My teacher Zhuo, can you be a little more reserved? We have a pure and healthy teacher-student relationship. You're making it difficult for me to deal with you without saying anything. Also, I really didn't pretend to be asleep. I really fell asleep just now. Qin Guang. Wang Ren shouted again as he watched the two of them from the podium. His eyes were red with jealousy. Qin Guang turned his head and supported his chin with his right hand. Half of his body was on the table, and his left hand casually waved in front of him. It was very much like how a waiter would move in a restaurant. He yawned again and said, Teacher Wang, if you have anything to say, hurry up and say it. I'm afraid I'll fall asleep again. Wang Ren glared at him. His hands were shaking with anger. This student is a little arrogant and unruly. Dean Tong saw this scene and said softly, it's normal for a talented student to be a little arrogant. I remember that when you were young, Old Tong, didn't you also like to talk back to our tutor? Old Han laughed at the side. He and Dean Tong did indeed study under the same tutor when they were young. The two of them had a deep relationship. Deputy Dean Deng snorted. Our Gokyo University nurtures talents, so we need to have both ability and integrity. When Old Tong was young, he was arrogant. That was because he was knowledgeable, so he could argue with the old man. What kind of attitude is this from Qin Guang? He made a mistake. How can he be compared to Old Tong when he was young? All right. Whether he made a mistake or not, we still have to wait for Wang Ren to finish talking before we make a conclusion. Old Deng, don't mention the sarcasm in your words. Dean Tong could hear the tension in the air. He pointed at Deputy Dean Deng and asked him to restrain himself. He didn't want his two deputy deans to quarrel in this situation. On the stage, Wang Ren spent a lot of effort to control his mood. He clicked the mouse hard and the image on the projector changed. The first picture appeared. It was the post that had been discussed by many people on the school forum. It was a picture of a rich second generation beating up someone and smashing a car. In the picture, Qin Guang was standing in front of a half-destroyed Audi A4L with his arms crossed. He looked very indifferent and expressionless. Wang Ren pointed at Qin Guang in the picture. Everyone see that? This is the violent incident that caused a terrible impact on the school yesterday. Qin Guang, this is you, right? Snore, snore, snore. He fell asleep again. He fell asleep with one hand propped up. Qin Guang. It's me. Go on, I'm listening. Qin Guang raised his eyelids by about 2 millimeters. He didn't even bother to nod his head. He just stretched out his hand and waved to show his attitude. At this moment, Wang Ren wanted to give Qin Guang a slap, but a slap wasn't sufficient to vent the hatred in his heart. Since Qin Guang still has this attitude, then don't blame me for firing you. Do you really think that I only have these few pictures? Ren Yuan's signs were so obvious just now. Don't tell me you didn't notice anything? Idiot. Chapter 171. It took about 20 minutes for Wang Ren to tell the whole story of yesterday's beating and smashing of the car. During this period, Dean Tong and Deputy Dean Deng kept frowning. Although Deputy Dean Han appreciated Qin Guang's talent, he also felt a little headache. He even secretly wondered if Qin Guang was really so violent. The other academy leaders and teachers couldn't help but whisper to each other. The students in the engineering class gradually became silent from the initial excitement. Although many people knew the cause and effect of the incident, it was disadvantageous to Qin Guang. Wang Ren didn't frame Qin Haodong at the beginning, but directly showed a slide, showing the photos and videos taken by people on the internet, showing the facts and evidence. This matter seemed to be irrefutable. Qin Guang, what do you want to say? Do you admit that it was you who led this group of second-generation rich kids to bully others, beat students in public, and damage their valuable belongings? Wang Ren slammed the table and shouted angrily. He secretly looked forward to it. Here it comes, the first climax of the day is coming. Let's see how you take it. There is nothing to say. This matter has nothing to do with me. I am just an innocent passerby who happened to be in the camera. That's it. Do you have anything else to say? However, Su Tao never expected that Qin Guang would have the same sleepy expression as he yawned once more. You're lying through your teeth. The evidence is conclusive. How dare you say it has nothing to do with you? Wang Ren shouted angrily. Qin Guang finally took his right hand off his face. He slightly leaned back and twisted his neck. The evidence is conclusive? Did you see me beating people in your photos? Did I? Students, did you see it? Teachers, what, did you see it? Dean Tong, did you see me beating people in the photos? Director Wang. Which eye of yours saw it? Since Qin Guang dared to speak like this, he had the confidence to do so. At that time, he had acted so suddenly that it was impossible for anyone to have the time to take photos and videos. Perhaps Dong Tao's companions could see the scene of him beating him up on the dash cam, but these people would never dare to testify for Wang Ren, especially after seeing the scene of Zhong Bai and the others smashing the car with their own eyes. Wang Ren's expression changed. He had arranged these photos himself, so of course he knew that there was no footage of Qin Guang hitting someone. But you've been stepping on Dong Tao's hand. Wang Ren flipped through the photo and was overjoyed. He had found something to show off. I'm really sorry, I was so scared at that time that I didn't know it was student Dong Tao. I'll apologize to him later. Qin Guang shrugged and asked again, well, you can't say that I hit him, right? What about smashing cars? Did I smash the car? He really didn't. From the beginning to the end, he didn't move at all. Wang Ren didn't answer, but Qin Guang slammed the table fiercely. Dean Wang. You're the dean of our school's discipline department. You're in charge of the discipline of the 1 to 2,000 students in our school. Your very careless attitude really disappoints us students. Just because I was standing close to the car, you suspect that I smashed the car and you're accusing me without any evidence? In the video there were quite a few people who were also very close to the car. Why don't you suspect them? Moreover, you say that I'm a bully. Then tell me, who did I bully? Where's the victim? Wang Ren was speechless. He had thought that these photos would be questioned as evidence. After all, they weren't convincing enough, but he didn't expect Qin Guang to fly into a rage in front of everyone. He really didn't feel guilty at all. How could he be so sure that Dong Tao would reject his request and not dare to stand up and accuse him? That was really strange. That Dong Tao was too much of a coward. Was he afraid of those second-generation rich kids? What a joke. This was a school. It wasn't a place for second-generation rich kids to show off. But it didn't matter. This was just an excuse. The main show was yet to come. Dean Tong, you just said that this is a school, not a court, nor a police station. It's a place to teach and educate people. But even if this isn't a court, you still have to pay attention to evidence. You definitely can't be like Dean Wang and frame me out of thin air and make wild guesses about me based on some so-called evidence. I'm a student, yes, but I'm a human first. Wang Ren is violating my human rights and tarnishing my reputation. At this moment, Qin Guang stood up. He was so agitated that he was waving his hands and feet as he spoke loudly. Seeing him like this, Wang Ren didn't panic at all. I'll let you jump all you want. It's time for me to show my trump card. Kid, I want you to be happy first, then I'll let you know that regret is useless. Bang. Wang Ren slammed the table again. You think that's all I have? Ren Yuan. You guys come up here. Tell me everything that happened between Qin Guang and Pan Jiang that day. As soon as he said this, all the other students in the environmental engineering class looked at Ren Yuan and his friends who were sitting awkwardly at the edge of the table. Ren Yuan. You scumbags. You know that Pan Jiang drugged Xiao Sun. Qin Guang hit people to save Xiao Sun. You guys know everything. What are you going to do? Bai Nyangzi and his friends already knew Qin Guang's plan, so they didn't make a sound. They didn't panic at all. But Gao Ye couldn't help but slam the table and stand up. Following Gao Ye's action, the other girls also stood up and accused Ren Yuan and his friends. Ren Yuan and his friends were embarrassed. They knew that if they did this today they would be isolated in the environmental engineering class forever. But what could they do? Wang Ren had a handle on them. If they didn't agree to his request, they would be expelled. Gao Ye thought that as Qin Guang's best friends, Lin Jingwei and his friends would be more excited than she was. However, when she turned around, she saw Lin Jingwei's 3 grandsons huddled together and playing with their cell phones. Their heads were close to each other, and their eyes were fixed on the cell phones under the table. On the screen was the HD version of The Legend of the Sword and Fairy that had just been remade for the cell phone. Gao Ye almost fainted. Her best friend was going to be fired because of a false accusation. Why are the three of you still playing games here? Lin Jingwei. Gao Ye yelled with hatred. Lin Jingwei, who was instructing Bai Nyangzi to use Li Xiaoyao to activate the ultimate skill of the Liquor Sword Fairy, shivered. Without thinking, he slammed the table with much more strength than Gao Ye and stood up abruptly. That's right. Gao Ye is right. He slammed the table so hard that it almost broke. The first victims were Bai Nyangzi and Xiong. Chapter 172. Our ears. Little Lin, you idiot. You should have told us in advance. Bai Nyangzi covered his ears and fell to the side. Qin Guang, who was dozing off in the front row, was startled awake by Lin Jingwei. He had to give it to Lin Jingwei and secretly scolded Lin Jingwei for being an idiot. If you like Gao Ye, then so be it. Why don't you pay more attention to the situation? The rest of the class could not help but laugh. Gao Ye's face turned red. Just a moment ago she was berating Wang Ren, but now she was so embarrassed that she did not know where to hide her head. Seeing that the trial against Qin Guang had almost turned into a farce, Wang Ren's face was so ugly that it could drip water. Quiet down. Ren Yuan, hurry up and come up here. Ren Yuan and the rest shivered and looked at the others apologetically. Then they shrunk their necks and walked up to the podium. When they passed by Qin Guang, Ren Yuan seemed to be a little hesitant. He said softly, I'm sorry, Qin Guang. Qin Guang waved his hand nonchalantly. It doesn't matter. Just say what you want to say. Don't apologize to me because I won't forgive you. As expected, Ren Yuan and the rest told the story of the conflict between Pan Jiang and Qin Guang all these years. However, they changed the last part. They only said that when Pan Jiang invited Sun Xiaoxuan for dinner, Qin Guang also had a crush on Sun Xiaoxuan. He was jealous and chased him to the restaurant. Then, the two of them got into an argument and got into a fight. In the end, Pan Jiang was injured and sent to the hospital, while Qin Guang was taken away by the police. As for the matter of drugging Pan Jiang, they completely avoided it. Based on what they said, it seemed that because of jealousy, Qin Guang beat up Pan Jiang and caused him to drop out of school. While Ren Yuan and the rest were telling the story of the conflict between Qin Guang and Pan Jiang, Wang Ren stood on the podium and did not say a word. He had become an outsider, as if he was not the one who started the whole thing. It was as if Ren Yuan and the rest could not bear to see Pan Jiang being wronged, so they came to help him. We don't know why Pan Jiang dropped out of school. Since he was sent to the hospital, we haven't been able to contact him. When we called him, he didn't pick up. We don't even know which hospital ward he's staying in. It's as if he disappeared into thin air. Even the news of him dropping out of school was only known after teachers were told us. Ren Yuan didn't say anything else after he said that. Wang Ren coughed again as if he was hinting at something. Of course, he had requested Ren Yuan to add in some of their so-called words of defending Pan Jiang's injustice, and not like what he was doing now. He was like a lousy announcer, using a tone that sounded like he was reading his lines and talking about something that seemed to have nothing to do with them. Unfortunately, Ren Yuan and the rest were determined not to say anything else. They turned their faces to the side and looked at something in the corner. No one knew what they were thinking. However, their meaningless confession could not be forgiven or understood by their classmates. Ren Yuan, you guys are too much. Too disgusting. Inverting right and wrong, do you guys even have a conscience? We thought you guys were not on the same side as Pan Jiang. When teachers were called everyone to eat, we wanted to ask you guys to come. Now we know. No wonder you guys didn't come, you didn't have the face to come. What did Wang Ren give you guys? The boys and girls in the class were so angry that they could not control themselves. Some of the more violent ones even wanted to rush forward and beat up Ren Yuan and the rest. Shut up. Be quiet, all of you. Do you want to fight in front of all of us teachers? Fatty Wang saw that the situation was getting out of control and shouted loudly. Dean Tong also stood up from his seat and said loudly, Students, please be quiet. The meeting is not over yet. I understand your feelings, but our school has never advocated violence. No matter what reason there is, we do not approve the use of violence as a means to solve problems. Dean Tong's words were indeed effective. Everyone had always been dissatisfied with Wang Ren, but they had always been in awe of the highest leader of the entire school. Wang Ren said again, if it was just Ren Yuan and the rest's oral accounts, it might not be convincing enough, but here is a surveillance video provided by Qin Yixian. The evidence is irrefutable. After saying that, Wang Ren fiercely clicked the mouse, and a very clear surveillance video was projected. This surveillance video was not recorded in the private room. It started from the moment Qin Guang entered the room, kicked the door open, and punched and kicked the poor Pan Jiang until Pan Jiang could no longer get up. The entire process was recorded from the surveillance camera in the hall, which just happened to avoid Sun Xiaoxuan, who was unconscious beside the door of the private room. As for the second half of the scene where Sun Xiaoxuan was helped out by Gao Ye and the rest, Wang Rin directly cut it out. After the surveillance video was played, Wang Rin sneered at Qin Guang. "Qin Guang, what else do you have to say? You were the one who beat him up, weren't you? Everyone look at how cruel his methods were. Even in the boxing ring he would not use such a method to directly attack someone's lower body. This is a complete disregard for human life. How can this be considered a student? He's a complete thug." The more Wang Rin spoke, the more agitated he became. He slammed the podium heavily and glared at Qin Guang. "Qin Guang. Although I don't know why Pan Jiang chose to drop out of school after suffering such a great injustice, I have reason to believe that it was you, Qin Guang, who used coercion to force him to give in. But I have reason to believe that it was you, Qin Guang, who used coercion to force him to give in. Just like how you led those rich young masters to smash other people's cars yesterday. Even if Pan Jiang did not personally accuse you of this as the Dean of Student Affairs, I will not allow a student like you to continue to stay in our school. Damn, this grandson's acting skills are really good. If I had half of his acting skills, I would be able to become a specialized villain actor in Big Beard Deng's side. This grandson was born to do this. This is talent, I can't even be envious of him." Tilting his head, Qin Guang raised his eyes to look at Wang Ren. He couldn't even be bothered to open his mouth, allowing Wang Ren to do whatever he wanted. In the end, Qin Guang only treated Wang Ren as a clown. At the same time, Qin Guang was calculating the time in his mind. Why is Wu Tong not here yet? Could she be out on a mission? Damn. If that's really the case, then I'm not just a clown from today onwards. To be honest, I'm a little panicky. Nonsense. There's something wrong with the angle of this video. Xiao Sun is just behind the door frame. It's blocked. I have Xiao Sun's medical report here. It's written on black and white paper that there are hallucinogenic drugs in Xiao Sun's body. That's the drug that Pan Jiang drugged Xiao Sun. Qin Guang is trying to save him. He's acting bravely for a just cause. Just then there was another commotion from the students at the back of the crowd. It turned out that Gao Ye was going crazy again. She stood up abruptly and yelled, holding a report in her hand. Beside her stood another girl who was sweating profusely. Poor girl, she wasn't at the scene. She had quietly gone back to her dorm to get the report. Lin Jingwei was blind and didn't notice her absence at all. Wang Ren seemed to have expected this. He sneered, "Student, as Qin Guang said just now, although this isn't a court, we still need evidence. Even if the medical report in your hand is real, is there any evidence that Pan Jiang drugged Sun Xiaoxuan? I have reason to believe that after Qin Guang hit someone, Sun Xiaoxuan took the drug himself to help him get out of it." Of course, Wang Ren was just talking nonsense. However, as the dean of the discipline department, he prided himself on being well informed. If the police really determined that Pan Jiang poisoned Sun Xiaoxuan, Wenxing Town branch would definitely inform the school, and Wang Ren would be the first to know about it. It had been a long time since the incident, but there was no news from Wenxing Town branch. Before he framed Qin Guang, Wang Ren even took the initiative to inquire about it. Pan Jiang wasn't convicted. Poor Wang Ren. He didn't know that because Pan Jiang's case was related to Pan Dehai's murder case, it became a related case, and the level of confidentiality was raised by several levels. In addition, when Wu Tong was handling this case, she fell for Qin Guang and Emperor of the Azure's plot, and released Qin Guang too early. It was barely considered a violation of the rules, but it was reasonable. Wu Tong felt embarrassed after the incident and locked it in her file. Of course, Wang Ren couldn't find out anything. Of course, even if there was an inside story, Wang Ren didn't care because in this school, he had the final say in how a student should be punished. Even if Qin Guang was a good Samaritan, he could still say that Qin Guang had a violent personality and was a potential danger. The school still had the right to punish or expel him, but the effect wouldn't be as good as it was now. Gao Ye slammed the table again and pointed at Wang Ren. "You're just talking. If you say it's bad, then it's bad. If you say it's white, then it's white. We don't accept this." "Yeah. We don't accept this. Qin Guang is innocent. You, Fatty Wang, are deliberately framing him. You can't stand the fact that Qin Guang ruined your stupid idea." Looking at these people making a ruckus, Wang Ren didn't care at all. He only sneered in his heart. Isn't that the case? In this school, if I want someone to be black, then they'll be white. Alright, now that the witness and material evidence are here, I won't say anything about the court's verdict. Today's incident is all because of the student in your class. In view of Qin Guang's actions and his unrepentant attitude today, I think the school should expel him. Our school doesn't need this kind of violent student. We don't want to nurture him either. As Wang Ren spoke, he grabbed a thick stack of materials out of nowhere and slammed it on the table, full of vigor. He couldn't hide the smugness in his heart and secretly let out a long sigh of relief. He had finally said the most important sentence. Wang Ren then looked at the three deans' current expressions. Old man Han seemed to be a little helpless, his brows tightly furrowed. Deputy Deans Deng exchanged a glance with him and revealed an understanding expression. Dean Tong, on the other hand, squinted her eyes as if she was thinking about something. Wang Ren grinned. Qin Guang, you're finished? Chapter 173. I believe that Director Wang's statement is clear enough. Qin Guang's actions have indeed brought about an extremely negative impact on the school and the academy. Vice Dean Deng exchanged glances with Wang Ren, then stood up and continued, I agree with Director Wang's decision. Dean Tong, you're the leader. You should also make a statement. Old Han turned his face to the side in pain. After listening for so long, of course he could tell that there was something fishy about this matter. However, Wang Ren had also prepared a lot of concrete evidence. Now that things had come to this, there was nothing he could do. Dean Tong showed a slightly helpless expression when she was suddenly called by Vice Dean Deng. She slowly stood up and pondered for a moment, then said, Students, please calm down. I hope that everyone can face this matter correctly. I also feel sorry for student Qin Guang, but the school has its rules. Since he made a mistake, he naturally has to bear the corresponding consequences. I hope that you can learn from this lesson in the future. Being expelled from the school isn't the end of the world. You're still young and have a long way to go. In short, I agree with Director Wang's decision. Dean Tong said a lot, but only the last sentence was useful. Zhuo Jingxi held her forehead in despair. She really didn't expect things to turn out like this. From the moment Ren Yuan and the others cooperated with Wang Ren to make false statements, this matter was especially disadvantageous to Qin Guang. Moreover, Wang Ren had prepared a video and had Vice Dean Deng pull Dean Tong over. Zhuo Jingxi couldn't help but look at Qin Guang worriedly. She was really afraid that Qin Guang wouldn't be able to control his temper and would hit Wang Ren in public. What on earth are you thinking at this time? Don't go to extremes. Zhuo Jingxi looked at Qin Guang's expressionless side profile worriedly. She couldn't help but put her hand on his thigh and pinched it a little, trying to comfort him. However, this pinch made Zhuo Jingxi's hand stiffen. She felt as if she was pinching an extremely hard piece of metal instead of a human muscle. Oh my God, why is he so strong? Zhuo Jingxi's hand trembled. She wanted to take it back, but she held it in. Forget it, let it be. His muscles are so tense. He must be unable to control his anger, right? Qin Guang, you must calm down. Teacher Zhuo supports you. No matter what happens, you will always be Teacher Zhuo's good student. If you really want to leave here, I won't have the face to continue staying in this school by myself. So what was Qin Guang thinking at this time? Big sister Wu Tong. Come and save me. Damn it, damn it, damn it. The little good Samaritan hero was going to be framed and fired. The morals of the world were deteriorating day by day, and the hearts of the people were no longer what they used to be. If this continued, the country would no longer be a country. Wait, Teacher Zhuo, at such an important time, your hand is a bit impolite. Holy shit. She reached out her hand. What was she trying to do? Teasing me? At this time? Oh my. So exciting. I'm so nervous. What if someone saw it? I was so nervous that I was stiff. Could it be that Teacher Zhuo thought that I was definitely going to be expelled and felt that she had implicated me, so she wanted to repay me with her body and comfort me? That was doable. Oh my God. She actually pinched my thigh. Itchy, numb, it was too exciting. I thought of the Japanese movies that I had hidden away. Hot teacher. Honeyed public teasing. Mysterious code QD 3682207. I'm going to get on the car. Goodbye, students. I can't. I never thought that Teacher Zhuo was actually this kind of person. I really admire you too much. But now is not the time. This is in public. Please don't be like this. I'm a decent person. If there's anything, let's talk in private in the hotel. Wait. Don't wait. Who is that? Sun Xiaoxuan. At this time, the conference room door was suddenly pushed open. Sun Xiaoxuan was standing at the door, sweating profusely and gasping for breath. Qin Guang was overjoyed and his eyes lit up. You're finally back. Thank God, this is the most important time. Teacher Zhuo, why did you take your hand back? Forget it, don't worry about the details, there are more important things right now. My big move has been gathering power for so long I can finally release it. Take my strongest secret technique, pretentious baby summoning technique, Fatty Wang. It's going to be thick. My pretentious baby. Officer Wu is still in the city, he can't come. Sun Xiaoxuan spoke again. Heavens. My heart. It hurts, my heart hurts. You're messing with me. But there's a leader here who said he's also in the public security system, a colleague of Officer Wu, and can represent the armed police officer to deal with this matter. He will definitely clear your name. Sun Xiaoxuan spoke again. Chen Guang didn't want to talk to her anymore, his poor little heart was repeatedly injured, he needed a nanny to heal it. But just as she finished speaking, a middle-aged man appeared behind her, smiling faintly at the crowd in the conference room. Chen Guang's pupils shrank. Oh my, this gentleman looks very familiar. Wushan. That's right. Isn't this the Wushan who often appears on TV, the one I used to forcefully establish a relationship with Wu Tong and scare Panjiang? *CK. It's actually him. Could it be? I really hit the jackpot. I was walking on the road, singing, and casually recognized a cheap godsister, who turned out to be a legitimate second-generation official. I feel like my magic power is too strong, I just wanted to summon Wu Tong's pretentious baby, but I actually summoned the big boss behind her father. My heart is so tired, Sister Xiaoxuan, can you not speak with such heavy breaths? The ups and downs of life came too fast and too violent. Qin Guang planned to go back and buy a caddy of instant heart reliever pills, carrying it on his back to save his life at any time. I almost gave you congenital heart disease. Of course, the most surprised person wasn't Qin Guang but Dean Tong. Qin Guang only knew that Wu Shan was an official, but he didn't know how important this official was. As the dean of Gokyo University, a comprehensive school with an extremely high administrative level, Dean Tong knew a lot of inside secrets. Not only was Wu Shan's official position very high, but he was also very young. It was hard to imagine to what extent he would continue to rise to in the future. Only those who were slightly in touch with that kind of level could understand the real power that Wu Shan represented. It was enough to make the entire political circle in Sichuan province look up to him in awe. But today, because of this trivial matter in a mere school of Gokyo University, it actually attracted this big shot who had the opportunity to aspire to become the central authority in the future. How terrifying. Just now, that girl said that he would definitely clear Qin Guang's name? Oh my god. Could it be that he has Qin Guang backing him up? Chapter 174. Dean Tong even felt his legs turn to jelly. He didn't think he had done anything wrong, but when he first saw Wu Shan, he thought of the enormous power behind him. This was the subconscious fear and admiration of the insignificant among those in power when facing the real power. He stood up from his chair, so nervous that he didn't know where to put his hands. Obviously, among the people present, only Qin Guang, who happened to see Wu Shan on TV, Dean Tong recognized Wu Shan's real identity, and he knew more than Qin Guang. Wu Shan wore an indifferent smile on his face. He didn't reveal his real identity to Sun Xiaoxuan, only saying that he was Wu Tong's colleague. As soon as he saw Dean Tong's expression, he knew that he had been recognized. Having been in the political world for so long, he had a natural super memory for people's faces. Vaguely, the scene of a chance meeting with Dean Tong appeared in his mind. So he smiled at Dean Tong meaningfully, and at the same time, gently pressed his right hand down. Dean Tong understood tacitly and sat down quietly. Her heart was thumping wildly. Then she turned to look at Wang Ren, who was standing on the podium at a loss. She cursed in her heart, "Wang Ren, you're in big trouble this time. You're really in big trouble." In fact, Wu Shan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. About an hour ago, he never dreamed that he would come to Gokyo University to deal with such an insignificant matter. However, as soon as he thought of his daughter's rare pleading tone on the phone, Wu Shan's mind became active. He wanted to see what kind of young man could make his stone-hearted daughter worry about him so much. Wu Tong's abnormal behavior at the Wenxing Town Branch Bureau that day, as well as her encounter with Qin Guang in the city, and how she told Wang Long and other colleagues to leave first, while she stayed to chat with Qin Guang in the middle of the night, were all secretly spread to Wu Shan's ears. "Who are you? Get out. You're not even wearing a police uniform, how dare you pretend to be a police officer? Public security system? I think you're a liar system." Just as Dean Tong sat down on the chair, Wang Ren, who was on the podium, slammed the table and said fiercely to Wu Shan, who was about to enter the door. Wu Shan was stunned for a few seconds. It had been 20 years since someone of his status had spoken to him in such a tone. He was also caught off guard. Dean Tong, on the other hand, looked as if her buttocks were on fire. She stood up straight again with trembling hands and a face full of terror. She looked at Wang Ren as if she had seen a ghost. 10,000 alpacas whizzed through his mind. "Oh, my seventh granduncle, can you let this idiot Wang Ren be struck to death by a bolt of lightning from the heavens?" On the other hand, Qin Guang covered his mouth and hid his face under the table. "Holy shit. Wang Ren, just because of your domineering attitude, even if I hate you so much that I want to strangle you to death, I still have to call you brother. I have only one word to express my appreciation for your courage and dominance. Do you see the palm-sized word convinced on my face? I can't hold it in any longer." Unknowingly or intentionally, Qin Guang tilted his head in Zhuo Jingxi's direction. He swung his head down and laid on Zhuo Jingxi's thigh. Zhuo Jingxi had no idea what had happened. Her attention was also attracted by Wu Shan at the door, but she only caught a glimpse of him. She thought that Sun Xiaoxuan might have really called the police, but it might not be able to change Qin Guang's fate today. After that, Wang Ren unleashed her might once more, but Qin Guang had pounced onto her thighs and buried his head in it. His shoulders were constantly shaking like an electric motor. Zhuo Jingxi thought that he had broken down and cried bitterly because of Deputy Dean Deng and Dean Tong's final stance. She sighed in her heart, and a touch of sadness and pity welled up in her heart. "It's all my fault. I've implicated you and made you suffer." Zhuo Jingxi gently placed her hand on Qin Guang's back and patted it gently. She said softly, "Don't be too sad. Everything will get better. If this place doesn't want me, there will be a place for me." Qin Guang was in too much pain from holding it in, and Zhuo Jingxi's misunderstanding deepened his pain. He really couldn't hold it in anymore. Since he was already lying in this position, he simply patted Zhuo Jingxi's thigh again. He moved his nose closer and smiled painfully. His nose twitched as he sniffed the faint fragrance on Zhuo Jingxi's body. He didn't know where it came from. On the other side, Wu Shan quickly calmed down after a short moment of confusion. He couldn't be suppressed by a mere fatty Wang. "Wang Ren, you shut up. Apologize to Officer Wu." Wu Shan didn't even need to speak. It was Dean Tong who showed his power first. He was also a smart person and knew that Wu Shan didn't want to reveal his identity, so he simply addressed him as Officer Wu. Wang Ren was stunned and looked at Dean Tong in a daze. He didn't know if the Academy's #1 had taken the wrong medicine or what. Dean Tong had already squeezed Deputy Dean Deng away with lightning speed and rushed out. She made her way to Wang Ren and raised her hand to slap Wang Ren's head again. "Didn't you hear what I said?" "Dean Tong. What happened to me?" Wang Ren was still a little confused. On this side, Wu Shan had already walked up with that indifferent smile on his face. He lightly patted the agitated Dean Tong's shoulder from behind. Dean Tong hurriedly turned around, but Wu Shan smiled at him and said, "As a public official, it is indeed my work mistake to forget to bring my identification when I go out for work. I will definitely pay attention next time. But since I'm already here, I also brought some documents with me. They all have the stamp of Wenxing Town Branch, so they should be able to prove my identity." Dean Tong seemed to want to say something, but Wu Shan had already turned his head to Wang Ren, who was at the side of the podium, and took a step forward to the main podium. Seeing that he really didn't want to reveal his identity, Dean Tong also knew that his overreaction would arouse suspicion. He hurriedly turned around and glared at Wang Ren. "Get out of the way. Let Officer Wu speak." Of course, Wang Ren didn't want to give up his position just like that. This Officer Wu was brought by the girl named Sun Xiaoxuan. He didn't even need to think to know that she was definitely here to support Qin Guang. There was no reason. Didn't Wenxing Town Branch not confirm that Pan Jiang committed poisoning? Then his method of backing him up would not be able to hold his ground. But he had no choice but to give up. Although he was reluctant, he still stood to the side with a livid face. He thought to himself, "I'll see what tricks you can come up with." At this time, Sun Xiaoxuan had already sat down next to Qin Guang. Seeing that he was still lying on Zhuo Jingxi's lap, she quickly patted his back. "Qin Guang, hurry up and get up. Officer Wu is about to say something." Qin Guang didn't dare to let Zhuo Jingxi find out that he was laughing like a maniac while taking advantage of her at the same time. He touched his face. Wow. I laughed so hard that tears came out. Look, even without acting skills, as long as you have luck, you can still be a movie king." Forcing his face to be serious, Qin Guang slowly sat up straight. Zhuo Jingxi's face was slightly red after being toyed with by Qin Guang for so long. She didn't dare to look at him for too long. She only glanced at him from the side, then turned her head back to Wu Shan, who was on the podium. She pretended to ask, "Is this Officer Wu from Wenxing Town? He doesn't look like an ordinary police officer." At the same time, her heart tightened. She saw Qin Guang's tears, and it was like a knife cutting into her heart. Qin Guang is still a child after all, but he has to bear this kind of pressure. In order not to worry me, he has to keep a straight face and make himself look stronger. In order to help me this time, he was framed by Wang Ren. I owe him too much, Sai. Qin Guang, what's wrong? Sun Xiaoxuan, who was on the other side, was also shocked by Qin Guang's tears. It's okay. Although I don't know the armed police officer, the people in Wenxing police station seem to respect him. He will definitely uphold justice for you. Sun Xiaoxuan grabbed Qin Guang's shoulder from the side and used force to clamp his left hand between the girl's voluptuous breasts. You have to be strong. It's so painful to hold it in. I can't laugh out loud. It's so uncomfortable, I feel like I'm going to die. Qin Guang covered his mouth. Woo 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 woo. Thank God. On the podium, Wu Shan finally got down to business, immediately attracting everyone's attention. Qin Guang was no exception, and it took him a lot of effort to control his emotions. He also wanted to know how Wu Tong's father would support him. Teachers and students of Gokyo University, hello. I'm here on behalf of Wenxing Police Station to help Qin Guang clarify some misunderstandings, so that the school and students won't have any misunderstandings about him. So, first, I have something here to give to Qin Guang on behalf of the police station. After saying this, Wu Shan's face actually showed a touch of awkwardness. His movements were even a little hesitant, but the bystanders couldn't see it. He only paused for a little bit, then quickly pulled out a large handbag from behind him, grabbed something from it and shook it with force. Looking at this thing, Qin Guang's mouth opened wide. Damn. This pretentious baby's professionalism is so high that it makes people's hair stand on end. What am I seeing? Am I seeing things? It's actually a banner. Chapter 175. Staring blankly at the huge banner, Qin Guang realized that it was actually embroidered with gold thread from right to left. Gift, Student Qin Guang. Courageous act, virtuous character. Wenxing Branch Bureau. Qin Guang's eyes widened. He thought to himself, I'll give you 99 points for this prop. A full score of 100. I'm afraid you'll get arrogant if I give you 1 point less. I'm really impressed. It hasn't even been half an hour since I sent Sun Xiaoxuan to inform the people, and you've already prepared a banner for me. Looks so classy. This efficiency, this thought, you're indeed the big boss in the world of pretentious props. How did you do it? It's actually embroidered and not painted. In fact, Wu Shan was also quite embarrassed, but he didn't show it on his face. He smiled and said, some people might be confused. Why did I give this banner to student Qin Guang? I have to start from a previous case. Then Wu Shan talked about Pan Zhang's attempted rape case from beginning to end. Of course, he avoided Pan Dehai's subsequent case. While talking about these things, Wu Shan also showed the case closure notice, Pan Zhang's confession and other documents. Every document was stamped with a red seal. Pan Zhang's handprint was clearly stamped on Pan Zhang's confession. In fact, Wu Shan was also very embarrassed. He was speechless towards his daughter. The size of the slap was just a small matter. This brat had acted bravely for a just cause, but he had also beaten up the criminal suspect so ruthlessly. It was already good enough that he was not sentenced to excessive self-defense. Yet, she had actually secretly made a silk banner and planned to secretly give it to this brat. What was going on in that little head of yours? Moreover, since when did the police give a banner to someone else? Wasn't it always others who gave it to the police? Even if someone did act courageously, it should be the victim who gave it to the hero. Why did the police come to scare him? Fortunately, you weren't completely stupid. At least the person who gave the banner was smart. He only wrote, Wenxing Branch Bureau, ambiguously and didn't really mark the full name of the police station. If he were to embarrass himself in the future, he could argue that it was Qing Wenxing Town's Health Bureau or Education Bureau. Although Wu Shan felt awkward, he still managed to speak in a clear and coherent manner. During this period, Wang Ren tried to interrupt him several times, but he was stopped by Dean Tong's fierce glare. The more Wang Ren heard, the worse he felt things were. But now that it had come to this, he seemed to be powerless to stop it. No matter how much unwillingness and resentment he felt in his heart, it was useless. Wang Ren, who was sitting next to Deputy Dean Deng, clenched his fists tightly. Every word that Wu Shan said and every document that he listed was destroying everything that he had painstakingly arranged today. He really couldn't figure out what went wrong. He had already asked his acquaintances from the Wenxing branch for information. But why did it end up like this? That acquaintance had known him for many years. There was no need for him to lie to her about such a small matter. But these red-headed and black-lettered documents, those exquisitely crafted silk banners sewn with golden thread, and Pan Zhang's personal thumbprint of his confession, what the hell were these? Are you kidding me? What's in it for you to make fun of me? I want to expel Qin Guang, but you actually gave him silk banners. Xiao Wang, don't be impulsive. Now that it has come to this, let's just forget about today's matter. There's still a long way to go. He's just a student. As long as he stays here, won't you have plenty of opportunities to deal with him in the future? Deputy Dean Deng patted Wang Ren's shoulder and whispered in his ear. Although after saying this, Deputy Dean Deng's eyes briefly flashed with disdain, he immediately hid it. After Wu Shan finished speaking, he directly walked off the podium. He didn't do anything else and just handed the silk banners to Qin Guang. Qin Guang stood up and squeezed out a happy and excited expression. He took the silk banners with both hands and thought to himself, although I've been a good person for almost half of my life, this is the first time I've given someone a silk banners. Although he felt that the silk banners didn't come from a legitimate source, he still felt pretty good. No wonder there are so many people in this world who like to be a good person. In fact, everyone wants to be praised. Not bad, young man. If this world could have a few more young men like you, it would be a better place. Wu Shan laughed and praised Qin Guang. As he spoke, he looked him up and down. This uncle's eyes have a lot of meaning. Damn, could it be that someone in Wenxing town gossiped to him and said that Wu Tong and I had an affair? From Wu Tong's point of view, there might be some signs, but from my position, I don't have any such thoughts. Uncle, don't be like this. Your line of work is very particular about matching social status. Please don't fall for me. Thank you, Officer Wu. Thank you. I will definitely strive to be a good citizen and live up to this silk banners. The guilty Qin Guang avoided Wu Shan's piercing gaze and nodded repeatedly. Fortunately, Wu Shan shook his hand again and left with a smile. He didn't stay any longer and didn't try to find out the relationship between him and Wu Tong. Watching Wu Shan's hurried back, Qin Guang let out a long sigh of relief. I passed. What am I afraid of? Wu Tong and I are obviously very pure. Qin Guang. That was great. I knew it would be okay. You're innocent. Sun Xiaoxuan finally couldn't hold back his excitement. He stood up from his chair and shook Qin Guang's shoulders with both hands. Qin Guang laughed as he pinched the words on the silk banners. Damn, it really was sewn on. Miraculous skill. Terrifying miraculous skill. In less than half an hour. This is too unscientific. The other students in the environmental sciences class were also excited. Only Ren Yuan and his friends who were sitting in the corner had extremely ugly expressions. At this moment, Ren Yuan and his friends couldn't tell whether they were relieved or regretful. After all, Qin Guang couldn't be expelled and he would even be commended for this. But how could they continue to stay in this class? Was he trying to argue that they really didn't know anything? Would others believe it? Zhuo Jingxi was still sitting in her chair, watching Sun Xiaoxuan jumping and shouting with Qin Guang in his hand. She smiled, but she thought in her heart that she actually envied Sun Xiaoxuan, who was his classmate and could be so presumptuous to him in public. My God. Zhuo Jingxi, what are you thinking? Qin Guang is your student. Wang Ren. You can leave later. Just when everyone was celebrating, Dean Tong's voice suddenly sounded from the front, and it carried a fury that was difficult to suppress. Everyone turned their eyes to the door and saw Wang Ren standing there with a livid face. It seemed that he was about to lose control of his emotions. Dean Tong, I'm not feeling well. Next, it should be the time to commend Qin Guang for his bravery, right? Dean Tong, Deputy Dean Deng and Deputy Dean Han are here. Can I ask for leave and go back to rest? Unexpectedly, Dean Tong said, No, you Wang Ren, owe Qin Guang an explanation for this. Chapter 176. Wang Ren's face suddenly collapsed. Qin Guang also looked at Wang Ren and smiled proudly. Fatty Wang, you also have this day. Do you think you can beat me just because you're the head of the discipline department? The world is big, but the truth is the most important. I was originally acting bravely for a just cause, but your ability to distort black and white was revealed under the Wushan Elder's demon-revealing mirror. Do you see my dazzling bright red banner? Qin Guang intentionally or unintentionally shook the banner in his hand. He then looked at Wang Ren's enraged expression and felt extremely proud. In fact, with Wang Ren's temperament he shouldn't be so impatient. However, today's matter was too big of a blow to him. Everything that he had meticulously planned was easily resolved by Chen Guang's casual help. Not only that, but this brat Chen Guang also took advantage of him. Dean Tong, what do you mean by this? Don't tell me you want to find trouble with me over this trivial matter? Even if you're the head of this school, I, Wang Ren, am not afraid of you. Dean Wang, you should apologize to me. Although you're a teacher and I'm a student, I can't be wronged for no reason, right? You didn't even investigate this matter clearly. You took my words out of context and arbitrarily wanted to expel me, and you even made this public trial. You're ruining my life. You're so heartless. No matter what happens today, this will leave a big shadow in my young heart. I just ruined your plan to make things difficult for Teacher Zhua. Is it worth it to treat me like this? Teacher Zhua just rejected your unspoken request, and you want to make things difficult for him? Are you trying to say that our big Jinhuan Academy has become your elder Wang Ren's harem? Now that you saw that things didn't work out, you want to just pat your butt and leave? We don't agree. Chen Guang's words were shocking. Although many people in the class wanted to say this, including Zhuo Jingxi herself, no one thought that he would dare to tear this matter apart in public. Chen Guang, don't slander me. Be careful or I'll sue you for slander. Wang Ren was furious. Shrugging his shoulders, Chen Guang replied, I'm really scared. What? You're the only one who can frame me, but I can't give you some groundless guesses? Forgive me for speaking like a child, I am still a student after all. But you look so angry, could it be that you really have a guilty conscience? Although Chen Guang usually didn't use his venomous tongue, and didn't seem to be very good at it, Wang Ren had already made him extremely annoyed and disgusted. Towards such a despicable person, Chen Guang, of course, had to ridicule him to the end. At the same time, he would also let Bai Nyangzi, that shameless mouth, see that he had real skills. In the past, he was just giving in to him. Otherwise, he would have scolded him to the sky. Don't underestimate him just because he had a sharp tongue, but Chen Guang felt great that he could ridicule Wang Ren in public. Sure enough, Wang Ren was so angry that he slammed his fist on the door of the conference room. Panting heavily, he glared at Chen Guang as if he wanted to eat him alive. Yo, you're a teacher. You don't need to apologize for your mistake? And you're still here slamming the table and slamming the door? What? Do you want to fight? Chen Guang continued. F***CK. This guy is trying to pick a fight. Don't tell me he really wants to fight with Wang Ren here? Bai Nyangzi, who had been hiding in the crowd, couldn't help but ridicule. Lin Jingwei grabbed Xiong'er, who was about to rush forward. Don't worry, Fatty Wang won't dare to fight. There are so many people watching. Moreover, if he really fights, I can guarantee that he won't last more than 10 seconds under Brother Guang's hands. Bai Nyangzi asked curiously, how do you know? Ren Yuan and the rest told me that Brother Guang is really good at fighting now. Moreover, he's been fooling around with Miss Wenwen for 3 years and he's still alive and kicking. Is this something an ordinary person can do? Lin Jingwei hit the nail on the head. Xiong'er and Bai Nyangzi nodded their heads vigorously. That's reasonable and well-founded. I'm very convinced. On the other side, Wang Ren was being provoked by Chen Guang's words and stared at him with a sinister gaze. He actually calmed down in an instant. He could tell that Chen Guang was trying to pick a fight. Dean Tong also appeared in time and stood between the two of them as a peacemaker. However, it seemed impossible to make Wang Ren apologize in public. But at this moment, Chen Guang slammed the table again and turned around to glare at Ren Yuan and the rest. I've recorded all the words you guys said to slander me. I don't care if Fatty Wang apologizes or not, but I won't let the few of you off for framing me with false evidence. Don't be in a hurry to explain. If you have anything to say, save it for the court. The whole class was in an uproar. No one expected Chen Guang to target Ren Yuan and the rest, and even direct it to the court. What was he trying to do? Sue Ren Yuan and the rest over such a small matter? Logically speaking, it wasn't impossible. If slander and rumors could be sued, then this kind of publicly framing was even more so. No, Chen Guang. We didn't do it on purpose. I've already apologized to you. Ren Yuan and the rest stood up abruptly. Chen Guang rolled his eyes. If an apology works, let me change my line. I didn't accept your apology. Wang Ren forced us. He has something on the 4 of us. He said that if we didn't agree to his demands, he would find an excuse to fire us. Of course we know that Pan Jiang drugged Sun Xiaoxuan. We knew from the beginning. He showed off to us before he did it. Even the private room in Qingye Xian was booked by me. Ren Yuan finally said this. Fatty Wang. You're the head of student affairs. You've done a good job. Twisting the truth and using your power to coerce a student into giving false evidence to frame another student. I've already recorded everything that happened in this meeting room with my phone. I'll send it online and see how you explain it. Let's see how the netizens view such an interesting matter. As Qin Guang spoke, he wanted to pretend to reach for his phone. His pocket was empty. How could he fail to bluff others? Damn, my Heavenly States Popcorn 4S. I've recorded it. I've been recording it since the end of class. Lin Jingwei, who was at the back of the classroom, raised his hand up high. In his palm was an expensive new DV. He was indeed the considerate and reliable Lin Pingji. Oh no, little Lin. Qin Guang gave him a thumbs up. Wang Ren. It's a shame for the school to have an administrative staff like you. Dean Tong, this matter is too vile and must be dealt with strictly. Otherwise, how are we going to convince the public and manage the school in the future? Old Han finally found a chance to rise up. As he said this, he intentionally leaned towards Wang Ren's backer in the school, Deputy Dean Deng. Deputy Dean Deng painfully turned his face to the side and didn't know what to say. He didn't dare to follow others and step on Wang Ren's head. He also didn't dare to go against the truth and everyone's anger to protect Wang Ren. He only had a headache. Wang Ren might really go overboard this time. As expected, after a slight hesitation, Dean Tong walked up to the podium. First, she used the blackboard brush to slam the table heavily to make everyone quiet down. Then, she turned to look at Wang Ren, who was standing at the door with a blank expression and suppressed anger. She said, "Today's matter has become like this. As the dean, I have some responsibility too. It's my negligence that allowed Wang Ren, this black sheep, to mix around in the school. Luckily, it's not too late to mend the pen after the sheep are lost. In view of Wang Ren's serious violation of the rules, I hereby announce that from now on, Wang Ren will be suspended from all his duties in the school. And report this matter to the higher-ups." Chapter 177. As Dean Tong announced the decision, Wang Ren's body went cold, and his right hand couldn't stop shaking. He knew there was no turning back. "Fatty Wang. Go back and play with your balls." Xiong Jinko was the first to scold. The others naturally didn't want to be left behind. They had hated Wang Ren for so many years, and now they finally had the chance to scold him in front of him. How could they not be happy? Dean Tong coughed again. "Students, don't be like this." Wang Ren still didn't leave. He just stood at the door and looked at Qin Guang fiercely. He thought to himself, "I won't let this matter go like this, absolutely not." Qin Guang could guess what he was thinking from the look in his eyes. He rolled up the pennant and carried it on his shoulder like a knife. He moved out of his seat and walked to Wang Ren. He said in a voice that only the two of them could hear, "It's not a good feeling to shoot yourself in the foot, right? Don't look at me like that. I'm not afraid you'll eat me up. I also want to tell you that this matter won't end like this." "Qin Guang, how's it going?" At this moment, a tall and strong figure walked quickly from the corridor. It was Wu Tong in her police uniform. She finally rushed back. Qin Guang raised his eyebrows at Wu Tong. "Big sis, you're finally here. The show is about to end. But it's good that you can at least listen to the ending song. Come, let me introduce you. This is our discipline director." "Oh no, the former discipline director Wang Ren. He has already been kicked out of our school." "That's enough. Let people go wherever possible. Don't be like this." When Wu Tong came to Qin Guang's side, she gave him a slap and pushed him into the conference room. After watching Wang Ren leave, Wu Tong continued, "Why did you offend him? Is there a need for that? Aren't you afraid that he'll remember you?" Qin Guang chuckled. "Sister Wu Tong, wait till I tell you about his legend. I dare to guarantee that you will swallow your words of, 'let people off when possible.'" Wu Tong frowned. "What's going on? I'll tell you about it later. I'll go back and enjoy the hero treatment first. Alright, what's with this silk banner? Is Wu Shan really your father? He came to support me and even prepared this prop. He's so loyal." Qin Guang and Wu Tong laughed and returned to the conference room. Wu Tong didn't follow them in. Instead, she hid outside with a red face. How embarrassing. If he knew the origin of this silk banner, he would definitely laugh at me to death, right? No, of course I couldn't let him know that I had actually prepared this banner long ago. What was I thinking at that time? I just wanted to find an excuse to meet this kid, so I made this silk banner and gave it to him in the name of the branch? Am I stupid or crazy? Alright, that damn Tanging can't be relied on anymore. I'd better find a professional psychiatrist later. Old Tong, you're being too impulsive by suspending Wang Ren. Aren't you worried about that person? Deputy Dean Deng found an opportunity to get close to Dean Tong and whispered. He even pointed to the ceiling as he spoke. Dean Tong looked at Deputy Dean Deng with extreme disgust. You and I are well aware of Wang Ren's past actions in the academy. It's just that we haven't found any concrete evidence against him. With that person and you, the deputy dean, backing him up, he's been living a carefree life. I thought that he would restrain himself after that incident, but now he's plotting against Xiao Zhuo. Why, Dean Deng, do you still want to continue protecting Wang Ren and turn our academy into one of his palaces and 6 courtyards? If it weren't for the fact that I don't have that authority, and you're also a veteran of our academy, I would have suspended you as well. Deputy Dean Deng's face stiffened. He didn't expect Dean Tong to be so impolite. From what he said, it seemed like he wanted to shed all pretense of cordiality with Wang Ren's protective uncle. Where did you get your courage and confidence from? What's wrong with this world? Have you really made up your mind? Deputy Dean Deng asked again, unwilling to give up. Dean Tong had already turned her face away. She couldn't be bothered to look at him, but her heart was filled with disdain. Of course I know that expelling Wang Ren will offend someone. But no matter how influential Wang Ren's uncle is, can he be more influential than Wu Shan? You're a frog at the bottom of a well. I'm waiting to see you drown. I hope that when you go back you'll watch the provincial news programs. Pay more attention to the actual situation. Otherwise, would you still be here wasting your saliva on me? After causing a commotion in the conference room, Qin Guang gave out the commendation and comforted Zhuo Jingxi. He even had to deal with the White Snake's third grandson, who was trying to ruin his plans. After that, Qin Guang was finally freed and ran out with Wu Tong, who was waiting for him outside. Sitting on a chair by the lake, Qin Guang told Wu Tong about Wang Ren's legend, especially the female student who died last year. This time Wu Tong was enraged. She immediately jumped up from her chair and rushed towards the direction of the school building, shouting, "That Wang Ren is actually this kind of scum. Scum. Damn it. I'll go catch him. I can't let this kind of person go." She was swearing. "Go, I support you. Catch him, then torture him. Beat him half to death. I guarantee you'll have the goods," Qin Guang said faintly as he sat on the chair. Wu Tong turned around. "Aren't you going to stop me?" Qin Guang spat. "Why would I stop you? I can't wait for you to catch him." Wu Tong sat back down and sighed. "There's no evidence. I can't catch him." "Yo, you still remember your catchphrase? You're so capable and arrogant. Why don't you go to heaven?" Qin Guang had a rare opportunity to tease her. He couldn't be soft-spoken. Wu Tong spat at him. "I worked so hard to help you. Is this how you treat your benefactor?" Qin Guang chuckled. "That's a different matter. You're a police officer. You can't be so impulsive. Sooner or later, something will happen." "You're worried about me?" Wu Tong asked. Qin Guang nodded. "Yeah, it wasn't easy for me to find such a powerful backer. If something really happens to you, I'll be in heaven. Who's going to look after me in the future? Go to hell." Wu Tong pushed his shoulder and said, "I'm not joking with you anymore. I'll remember what happened to Wang Ren. After I finish the case at hand, I'll try to investigate it and try to find something substantial. If he's really the kind of person you said he is, his background isn't that clean. There's no such thing as an impenetrable wall. The only reason criminals can get away with it is because an excellent detective like me doesn't keep an eye on them." "You're right. I'm speechless." Qin Guang shocked Wu Tong's confidence. "How shameless was that? Other than being able to fight on par with me, is there anything else you're good at? All right. You even knocked him unconscious with his nunchaku. You shouldn't have hit him. Evil has its retribution. It's not time yet. Let him jump around for a while. I'll find out his background," Wu Tong said again. Damn, she didn't hear the sarcasm in my words. Her face was as thick as the old man's. "Okay, but if you can't find out his background and he comes to find trouble with me, I'll crush his bones inch by inch," Qin Guang said. "When are you going to change your bad habit of lynching people? You're making things difficult for me as your sister. Anyway, I have the support of the policewoman, Hua. What's there to be afraid of? *CK off. I still have things to do at the station, so I'll go back first. You pay attention. Don't let this damn fatty get into trouble before he falls. Come out and have coffee with me some other day." Stepping on Qin Guang's leg, Wu Tong took the opportunity when Qin Guang was hugging his leg in pain to run away. She was as happy as a sparrow. Chapter 178. When Wu Tong walked out of Wujing University and climbed into her wrangler, Wu Shan, who had been sitting in the passenger seat, suddenly turned his head and said, "That young man of yours should have recognized me. This young man is quite concerned about politics." Wu Tong rolled her eyes. "He usually runs the internet to earn money. It's the same as a taxi driver. Of course, he knows a lot about current politics. Otherwise, who knows when he'll give you all a slap on the head and say that he's breaking the law again." Seize his car. Wu Shan stared at her. "I helped you so much today and this is how you thank me? This father and daughter pair are really alike. Even the way they ask for favors is the same. I was wrong. Thank you." Wu Tong said as she started the car. "My great dad, you have been here for almost the whole morning. I was afraid that you would have a lot of work to do. I'm just a basic police officer. I'm not as free as you, so I won't accompany you. When we get back to the station, you can go back to the city by yourself. I have to go on patrol. I came here to look for you, but you used patrolling as an excuse to hide far away. That Qingguang called and you asked me to support him. Now that it's done, you want to chase me away? Isn't it too heartless to burn the bridge after crossing the river? I'm your father." Wu Shan was depressed. "You're not really interested in that kid, are you? He's just a student. You are Wu Shan's daughter. So many people are watching you. You can't." Wu Tong suddenly stopped the car by the roadside. "Get out. What nonsense are you talking about? He is my god brother. I treat him like my own brother. So what if I am Wu Shan's daughter? I am Yuan Fei's daughter. And Wu Long's sister. Don't try to put on an official show in front of me. I won't fall for it. I don't care how many people are watching me. That's your business. It's not my business." Hearing Wu Tong's words, Wu Shan's face turned slightly red. "Wu Tong, don't be like this. I just want to have lunch with you to celebrate the robber you caught a few days ago. Get out of the car. I became a police officer by choice. It has nothing to do with you. Stop interfering with my work and don't even try to interfere with my feelings. I can do whatever I want. I didn't want to mention my mother and brother, but you just had to remind me. Do you think Wu Shan's family has to be like this? If I had a choice, I would rather reincarnate into an ordinary family like Qingguang's." Wu Tong slammed the steering wheel with all her might and roared hysterically. Wu Shan was silent. He turned his face to the other side and looked at the people coming and going outside the window. His eyes were slightly red. He took a deep breath, took out a small box from his suit pocket, and gently placed it next to the handbrake. "It's your birthday in a month. I'm going to the capital for a meeting next week, and then I may go abroad to study for a period of time. I may not be able to come back on your birthday, so I'm giving you your birthday present in advance. It was my fault. I was too nervous." After Wu Shan finished speaking, he opened the car door, turned a corner and silently walked away. Wu Tong pounced on the steering wheel. Her nose twitched violently, and she slammed the steering wheel angrily. "Wu Tong, why are you crying? You're an amazing police officer. Mom and brother are watching you from the sky." Qingguang did not know what Wu Tong and Wu Shan were talking about. He was looking at Ren Yuan and the others in front of him, expressionless. "Qingguang, we know it's our fault. But please take into account that we're all classmates. We don't ask for much, but we sincerely hope that you can forgive us." Ren Yuan and the others stood in front of Qingguang with their heads drooped. Qingguang waved his hand impatiently. "Why are you telling me this? I'm not an official in the school, so I can't do anything to you. Let's all mind our own business from now on and live our own lives. You don't have to ask me to forgive you. I'm not Lu Xuanda, I'm not that magnanimous. I don't care what reason you have, you framed me anyway. You want me to repay evil with good? I'm sorry, but I can't do that. You guys can save it." After saying that, Qingguang turned around and left. He was sick of these people. "I've never been magnanimous. I'm already benevolent enough not to catch you guys and beat you up. Do you want me to forget our differences by drinking wine? I don't like that anymore. Who knows if two-faced people like you will stab me in the back in the future. Instead of being betrayed by your so-called friends, I might as well not be friends in the first place." Although Qingguang was always laughing and joking around, he had a good eye for making friends. After being tormented for the entire morning, Qingguang's illness acted up again, so he decided to skip classes in the afternoon. At noon he waited for a new phone and after going through a lot of trouble he changed it. After rejecting the so-called celebration from his classmates, Qingguang happily drove to the city hospital. When he arrived, his mother had just finished her dialysis. Her face was slightly pale as she rested on the hospital bed. His father held up the tablet with both hands and played the Langya list for his mother. Ugu is really handsome. He was already handsome when he acted in The Legend of the Sword and Fairy a few years ago. So many years have passed but he still looks so handsome. I don't know how these celebrities take care of their skin, his mother said weakly, but she seemed to be in a good mood. Qin Guang nodded. The legend of the sword and fairy, that was also his childhood. Qin Guoli rolled his eyes. Hu Gu is handsome, but in my opinion our little Guang is more handsome. At least his spirit is much better than the sickly Hu Gu. What do you know? He's acting. Jiang Meilang is a patient, okay? It's because he's good at acting. His mother argued for the little fresh meat. Qin Guang stumbled when he heard Qin Guoli's words. Although I've always been confident, Dad, aren't you afraid that tens of millions of fans will hear about it and burn me to death? Mom, how are you feeling today? Qin Guang chuckled as he walked over. Feng Rong shifted her gaze away from the tablet and smiled. I'm all right. The doctor said that my condition is getting better. Oh yeah, why are you here? Don't you have classes in the afternoon? This ICU is pretty good. The nurses are in charge of individual tasks. Your dad can handle it alone. Don't come over if you have nothing to do. It'll affect your studies. Qin Guoli also nodded. That's right. Don't disturb me in your mother's world. Qin Guang rolled his eyes and flipped his head. We're both old man. My wife and son already have access to the internet. What do you mean by alone time? As for the classes in the afternoon, they're not important. I'll skip them. 15 minutes later, Qin Guoli placed his hands on his thighs and glared at Qin Guang, who was 10 meters away from him. Stop right there. Stop right there. What's with your tone? Do you think skipping classes is like eating or drinking? You're lucky that your mom isn't feeling well. Otherwise, I'll beat you to death with your mom. Qin Guang also placed a hand on the statue and pretended to look tired. All right, I can't wait for my mother to recover so that she can form a team with you. You won't be able to catch me alone. Save your energy. Tang Ying, who was taking a short break, was leaning on the windowsill of the doctor's office. She watched the father and son chase each other for 10 minutes. She was laughing so hard that she almost lost her breath. This father and son pair was really interesting. Chapter 179. Although Qin Guoli and Feng Rong looked like they wanted to grab Qin Guang and beat him up, Qin Guang still stayed in the ward for more than 2 hours. During that time, he took the opportunity to emphasize to his father that the house in his hometown should not be sold. Then, Qin Guang transferred the 100,000 yuan he earned yesterday to Qin Guoli on the spot. This shocked the middle-aged businessman who had been doing business for most of his life. What the hell did you do? Why does it look like you picked up the money from the ground? No. You have to give me an explanation. Qin Guoli widened his eyes and stared at Qin Guang blankly. He wanted to cut him open to see his heart. Qin Guang shrank back and put some distance between them. He thought to himself, I can't tell my dad that I taught people to race. Otherwise, I won't be able to escape today's men's singles beating. But how am I going to explain this? It's time for me to use my divine skill of deception. There's one thing that I've always found hard to say. But now I have to admit it to you, Dad. Qin Guang hesitated a little and pretended to make up his mind. Looking at his pained expression, Qin Guoli's heart tightened. Say it. As long as it's not against the law, as long as it's not life-threatening, I can understand. You didn't guess wrong that day. I really am a sugar daddy. What? Qin Guoli looked at his son in shock. You're not joking? Qin Guang painfully turned his face to the side. It's true. How old is she? In her 30s? In her 40s? Is there any possibility of you getting married? Qin Guoli was actually concerned about this. Qin Guang shook his head but didn't say anything. No possibility of getting married? Not in her 30s or 40s. Oh my God. Could it be that she's already in her 50s or 60s? What a tragedy. Qin Guoli beat his chest and stamped his feet. Damn. Dad, didn't you just say that I was more handsome than Hu Gu? Is that all you have in me? I, old Qin, am heartbroken. How could you face your grandparents? How could I face the ancestors of the Qin family? I was useless. I actually let my son become a prostitute to earn money. The other party's age was almost the same as my mother's. I, Qin Guoli, don't want to live anymore. As Qin Guoli spoke, he turned his head and wanted to hit the wall with his head. After a while, you will not associate it with the Queen of England. Dad, your divergence ability is at least 3 times stronger than mine. No, it's not like that. Listen to my explanation. Marriage was indeed out of the question. After all, the other party was too famous. However, the other party was not an old granny in her 50s or 60s. He's the same age as me. Qin Guang quickly explained, pulling Qin Guoli back from his train of thought. Qin Guoli jumped back again. What? Don't tell me it's the female celebrity you said you saved last time? left and right hand. The national idol that even I, your dad, am tempted to look at? A pair of sisters? To be honest, if the person standing in front of him was not his dad, Qin Guang would have kicked him out. After thinking for a long time, he decided to let Jiang Yage take the blame. Your son is not that capable. It's just Jiang Yage alone. I don't believe you. Who is she? How can she be interested in a nobody like you? After a while, Big Beard Deng's new movie will be released. You can go to the cinema to watch it. Your son's scenes are probably in the middle. There's a big scene in the middle of the movie. The deputy general with the silver spear, although he doesn't have any lines, his face is exposed. This is the opportunity that Jiang Yage helped me fight for. What I told you last time is also true. This 100,000. She paid you for the night? Qin Guoli interrupted. Dad, I give you full marks for your ability to make sentences. After a long explanation, Qin Guang told his dad that Jiang Yage was going to give him a Patek Philippe. After saying so much to him, Qin Guang was afraid that he would not believe it and secretly sell the house in his hometown. By then it would be too late for regrets. The father and son went downstairs side by side. Qin Guoli's face was full of emotion. He patted Qin Guang's shoulder. Sai, that kind of superstar is probably just playing with you. There's no hope of getting married. The entertainment industry, Sai. Son, it's been hard on you. Anyway, the lie had already been made up. With Jiang Yage as a shield, Qin Guang thought that he would accidentally get money from somewhere and throw it to his dad. There was no need to explain anymore and let him think whatever he wanted. It can't be helped. She's actually quite a good person. I saved their lives and I'm grateful that she thinks highly of me. I'm not in the mood to care about the entertainment industry. I'll just be a monk striking the bell for a day. In short, you must remember that this matter is only known by the heavens, the earth, you, and me. There can't be a third person who knows about it. It will have a very bad impact. Qin Guoli nodded vigorously. Yes. Striking the bell for a day? The overnight fee is so high. It must be tiring, right? Why don't we go to the pharmacy at the entrance of the hospital and get a few bottles of Luwei Dihuang pills to nourish our body? Qin Guang, can you tell me more about the two of you? Did you take any safety measures? Did you guard against paparazzi when you booked the room? She looks so pure on the TV. Why is she such a person behind the scenes? There's no telling what's in her heart. Is Jean Shiriwei interested in you? I feel that if you have the chance you can earn double. Even the Luwei Dihuang pills might not be enough. Dad, let's cut off our father-son relationship. The father and son went downstairs with a wretched look on their faces. Qin Guoli went back to his ward, while Qin Guang planned to go to Professor Lu's office to ask about the transplant surgery preparations. However, Professor Lu wasn't there, so he went to find Tang Ying. By this time, Qin Guang had gradually accepted Tang Ying as his mother's deputy chief physician. Even though he didn't want to admit that he had a deep misunderstanding of her, Qin Guang could tell that Tang Ying seemed to have real skills. When he arrived at Tang Ying's office, there were people coming and going. She was busy. There was nothing urgent, so Qin Guang found a corner and stood there. When Tang Ying inadvertently glanced at him, he greeted her. He then quietly looked at this overly young female doctor. She looked a little haggard. To outsiders, being a doctor was a glamorous, high-paid, and well-respected profession. But in fact, only they themselves knew the pain they were going through. Working overtime was a piece of cake for them, and their regular working hours were much longer than that of ordinary people. This was especially so for chief physicians who were in charge of patients. They practically ate and lived in the hospital and they never had time to rest. Tang Ying had actually been working for more than 14 hours straight. She only took a short nap in the middle and ate 3 meals. However, even though her face was haggard, the fighting spirit in her eyes was still burning. After Dr. Ma left, she finally successfully gained a foothold in this hospital. She was rushing forward with all her might, so how could she be willing to stop? Chapter 180. After she finished talking to the doctor, she slowly stood up and stretched. She shrugged her tired shoulders and walked over to Qin Guang. She seemed to be in a good mood. Yo, you're here again? Why aren't you looking for your beloved Professor Lu? Why are you here? Tang Ying knew that Professor Lu wasn't here today, so she deliberately teased Qin Guang. Qin Guang was speechless. Why is this woman so vengeful? Every time she says something like, "I'm your savior," Professor Lu isn't here. Who else would I look for if not you? Qin Guang said in a muffled voice. Tang Ying let out a long chuckle and yawned. Wait for me for 2 minutes. I'm going to get off work. I'm going to change and go home to sleep. I saw you earlier. You've been here for a while, right? You're going out after asking me some questions, right? Are you going to the sports car? Qin Guang nodded. That's what I plan to do. After waiting for about 6 or 7 minutes, Tang Ying walked over in plain clothes. She wasn't like most women who liked to carry a satchel when they went out. Instead, she carried a huge backpack on her back that was stuffed to the brim. Knowing that he would have to rely on her in the future, Qin Guang took the initiative to reach out his hand. Your back looks like it's going to break. Give me the backpack. Qin Guang wasn't an ordinary patient's family member, so there was an extra layer to their relationship. Tang Ying didn't stand on ceremony with him. She threw the backpack into Qin Guang's hands. That's great. Take it. Why is it so heavy? Are there gold bricks in it? Even with Qin Guang's physique, he felt it was heavy. One could imagine how heavy it felt to be on top of Tang Ying. Tang Ying led the way out and said, there are medical books in there. How can it not be heavy? Medical books? Can I take a look? Qin Guang's interest was piqued as he wondered if he could learn medicine. Then, when Liuli appeared, she would instantly become the strongest doctor in history. However, he also knew that this idea was not very realistic. The amount of knowledge involved in medical skills was too large, and it required a comprehensive understanding of the subject. It was not something that could be learned just by reading books. It required an extremely rich clinical experience, and it was probably not something that the spirit heaven realm in a cup could handle. Tang Ying, on the other hand, rolled her eyes at him in disdain. It's all in English. Do you think a lousy university student like you can understand it? If you don't believe me, you can try. Qin Guang opened the zipper and took out a medical book that was as thick as an Oxford dictionary. He raised his eyebrows proudly and said, "You're looking down on me." Then, as he walked, Qin Guang read out the sentences in the English tome one by one. His pronunciation was perfect and the taste was pure. It was still the original formula and the original taste. Tang Ying had lived in the United States for many years, so she was more knowledgeable. She was shocked by Qin Guang's move, just like Schmidt. Oh my God! Where did you learn to speak English like this? Qin Guang chuckled and said, so, this is to tell you that there's always someone better than you. Don't think that just because you're a doctor from Morance you're so arrogant. It's also because I felt dizzy after reading a few paragraphs that I didn't want to study medicine anymore. Otherwise you wouldn't even have a chance. He was not joking. Learning medicine was not something an ordinary person could do without a bit of talent and patience. Fine, I'm the one with the long hair. You didn't come all the way here just to show off your English, right? You must want to ask about your mother's transplant, right? Qin Guang nodded and said, yeah, I can't rest easy without surgery. Of course, I want it to be done as soon as possible. By then, the two had already walked next to Qin Guang's car. Tang Ying patted him on the shoulder and said, don't worry. With such a perfect match and Professor Liu as the chief surgeon, unless the sky falls, nothing big will happen. Of course, this is, after all, a major surgery that will affect your muscles and bones. So, be it your mother or the person who is providing the transplant source, both of them will have to adjust their bodies to the best condition before they can come here. I estimate that it will take around 30 days or so. It's better to be safe. I'm relieved to hear that. Everything is ready, we just need money. Is that okay? Tang Ying asked. Qin Guang thought for a while and said, no problem. Okay, then I'll place the order online. Hurry up and take me home. Tang Ying crawled into Qin Guang's passenger seat and took out her phone. Qin Guang hurriedly stopped her. Don't. Save it. If someone finds out that you're taking orders in a car, the money you earn won't even be enough to pay the fine. I'll owe you a big favor, I'll take you home. You won't act until you see the rabbit. Last time you sent me home, your attitude was terrible, but now you're so gentle and considerate like a nice guy. Men nowadays. Tang Ying didn't want to waste time with him. She put away her phone and teased him. Qin Guang was embarrassed by her words. I'm still a university student, a boy, not a man yet. On the way the two chatted and laughed. Tang Ying told Qin Guang a lot of interesting things about her abroad, and indirectly showed off her achievements abroad. This made Qin Guang believe that this woman really was an amazing medical doctor. Tang Ying watched as Qin Guang took the order in front of her and drove away. She carried a big backpack with both hands and smiled. At this moment, she was standing at the place where the two of them had first met. She remembered that Qin Guang said he was still a university student, a boy, and her smile grew bigger. You say you're a boy, but you're much more responsible than the average man. Good people always have good lives. I hope everything goes well for your family. Tang Ying will do my best. Life always takes time away inadvertently. After Wang Ren was chased away, peace returned to the Jinhuan Academy and the entire class. Qin Guang contacted the two of them again and received a piece of good news. The two of them were recording at a much faster pace than he had imagined, and they would probably return to China 10 days before the surgery. At that time they would directly fly over to look for him. With this as a foundation, Qin Guang didn't have to worry about money anymore. He spent more of his energy on the battle of wits and courage with the heavenly Holy Grail. All day long he was thinking about how to make better use of this crazy knife. Based on his previous experiences in the spiritual celestial cup, he could roughly analyze the skill level of this level of the spiritual celestial cup. What kind of skill was easy to learn and use to make money? It was easy to say, but it was extremely difficult to think about. In addition, Lu Li used the power of the realm of life, which seemed to consume a lot of energy. Even the heavenly Holy Grail didn't move. But as time passed, Qin Guang was on guard every day, afraid that he would waste the precious 3,000 worlds like he did the last time he sharpened a pencil. It was tiring. Suddenly, when he came back to his senses, 2 weeks had passed, and it was almost time for the CET4 exam. Chapter 181. In the class, Qin Guang's tragic reputation of failing 5 times in a row in CET4 was already gone. The time of the CET4 exam, which was almost forgotten by others, was suddenly noticed by everyone because of the unusual existence of Qin Guang. Place your bets, place your bets. Bet on how many points Brother Guang can pass the CET4 exam. Place your bets. Bai Nyangzi, who was good at making money, began to shout as soon as the class was over. Tomorrow was the CET4 and CET6 exam that would make all the college students worry, gloat, or weep bitterly. This bets was also a reserved program in the engineering class, and it was the 3rd time so far. The difference was that in the past, everyone bet on how many points Qin Guang would lose, but this time they bet on how many points he would pass the exam. After witnessing his sudden rise last time, no one dared to look down on his English anymore. I bet 100 points. I bet 150 points. 200 points. Lying by the window, Qin Guang looked at those idiots acting cute while fiddling with the heavenly Saint Grail. In his heart he was thinking, Big Sister Lioli, why don't you give me some news? It's already been 2 weeks and there's no news at all. I'm starting to panic. She said last time that this was a punishment world derived from the realm of life, and it would definitely be very different from a normal test world. Although he knew his life was not in danger for the time being, he still couldn't help feeling guilty and had an ominous premonition of impending disaster. You bunch of cowards. I bet more than 700 points. That's right, a full score of 710. I bet Brother Guang can pass the exam with more than 700 points. Lin Jingwei shouted, and even Qin Guang was surprised. Little Lin, you think too highly of me, don't you? Lin Jingwei chuckled. I believe in Brother Guang and I won't fail. Brother Guang never fails. Get lost. Qin Guang threw the book in his hand far away, and it hit Lin Jingwei's face. Little Chen's flying letter never missed its target. At this critical moment, Qin Guang saw a figure outside the classroom from the corner of his eye. Holy shit. Goddess Wenwen is here. I can't let her see the wager of this bunch of grandsons. Otherwise all the effort that I've put in to hide until now will be wasted. Immediately, Qin Guang shot up from his seat like a bolt of lightning. He took large strides and instantly rushed in front of Bai Nyangzi's group. The table was already filled with red and green notes. Bai Nyangzi was burying his head in a piece of paper and making notes. Based on the passing score of 425 points, there would be a level every 50 points. Everyone's bets were basically aiming for more than 100 points. Yo, why is it so lively? What are you doing? Wenwen had already barged into the classroom. She often went to look for Qin Guang in the environmental sciences class, so she knew these people well and didn't need to be polite. Gaoya, who was sitting on the other side, rolled her eyes and poked Sun Xiaoxuan's waist. This witch is here again. Xiaoxuan, you should take the initiative. Your lover will be snatched away by your rival sooner or later. Sun Xiaoxuan's face blushed as she responded, Wenwen might be beautiful, but Qin Guang isn't a shallow person. Gaoya's mouth opened wide. I've heard that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. You're not a beauty but a saint. Don't you see that Teacher Zhua has been finding all kinds of reasons to ask Qin Guang to go to her office? Is there something wrong with this guy? Why does everyone like him? You think Lin Jingwei is pleasing to the eye, but you can't see the good in Qin Guang. How am I pleasing to the eye? I want to beat him to death. Sun Xiaoxuan finally retaliated against Gaoya. On the other side, seeing Wenwen getting closer and closer, Qin Guang panicked. Bai Nyangzi knew something was wrong when he saw Qin Guang's expression. He suddenly remembered Qin Guang's warning and panicked. Although he didn't know why his brother Guang wanted to hide it from Wenwen, he seemed to really care about it. What should he do now? At this moment of life and death, Bai Nyangzi's wit finally came into play. His eyes widened in anger, and he abruptly grabbed the paper filled with his bet records. First, he stuffed it into his mouth, then he hugged the money on the table and jumped up. As he chewed on the paper, he dashed out of the aisle and ran out of the classroom. I'm done. I'm done. You all bet on the national football team to lose. None of you backed me up. Before Bai Nyangzi's voice fell, he had already rushed past Wenwen like lightning and rushed out of the classroom. The others who had already placed their bets didn't know why Bai Nyangzi was talking about the national football team at this time, but it was an indisputable fact that he was going to swallow the bet and run away with the money. Although they knew he was joking, they still chased after him. Qin Guang was touched. What a good brother. I'll remember this friendship of yours in my notebook. What is Bai Fan doing? Qin Guang answered, they are betting on tomorrow's national football game. Those guys who only want to make money and not lose all bet on losing. I told him to win with 3 goals, but he didn't believe me. Now he can only go back on his word. He deserves it. Oh, by the way, how confident are you in tomorrow's exam? As she said this, Wenwen seemed to subtly puff out her chest. She purposely came here today to remind Qin Guang so that he wouldn't fall asleep in despair. Su Tao nearly forgot to mention that Qin Guang had actually been defeated once in his quintuple fourth order. Last semester he had slept through his CET4 exam. When he woke up, it was already 12 in the afternoon. This incident was also a legend at the time, and it laid the final foundation for his CET4 Qin Hui title. Glancing at Wenwen's perky breasts, Qin Guang secretly swallowed his saliva and patted his chest. Steady. All right then, remember not to oversleep. After the exam tomorrow afternoon, let's go to the internet cafe together to celebrate your temporary relief. If you oversleep like last time, then we won't go to the internet cafe, Wenwen said and prepared to leave. Qin Guang asked, where are we going? There's a new boxing club in the city, and there's a hospital right next to it. I'm interested in taking a look. F***CK. This is a blatant threat. But I can't say anything. Wenwen was about to leave after she finished speaking, but just as she turned around, she turned back and pointed at Lin Jingwei and Xiong who were hiding in the corner of the classroom. She was puzzled. Why are you guys hiding so far away? Xiong scratched his head. We're afraid of being injured by your murderous aura. Coward. Wenwen raised her eyebrows, turned around and walked away. After she left the classroom, Bai Nyangzi was carried back by everyone. They were performing CPR on Bai Nyangzi's stomach. Spit it out. Spit it out. You really swallowed it? You're a beast. There's so much ink on it, you can really swallow it? Terrible, really terrible. Lin Jingwei walked to Qin Guang's back quietly and said faintly, I feel like you're hiding something from us. You really want to know? This is a bet between me and Wenwen. If she loses? Qin Guang purposely dragged out his words. Before he finished speaking, Lin Jingwei had already dragged Xiong Jinka out. We actually don't want to know. Qin Guang shrugged. Wenwen was right, these people were really cowards. Tomorrow is the exam. My young Miss Wen, just you wait. Big Brother promises to give you a big surprise. I can't control it anymore, I'm going to ignite my strength and fighting spirit. Poor Wenwen, she still didn't know that other than herself, everyone believed that Qin Guang would definitely pass this time. Chapter 182. Qin Guang had always thought that he had seen through the bottom line of his classmates, but he realized that he was wrong today. When he got up early in the morning, Lin Jingwei and the other 2 were already gone. He had no idea where they went. Qin Guang cleaned his face, took his student ID and went downstairs. On the way he was also puzzled. He had to take the CET4 test today, but the 3 of them had already passed the CET4 test, and none of them applied for the CET6 test. They should have no classes today, but they didn't sleep in. He didn't know where they went. Could it be that these 3 were up to something behind his back? He ate 3 steamed buns in the second cafeteria and drank a bowl of porridge. When he walked out of the cafeteria, he finally knew what the 3 of them were doing. The whole environmental engineering class was gathered outside. He didn't know where they found their red clothes. Looking around, he saw a red ocean. A small fish pond. In short, they were waiting for Qin Guang to give him a big surprise. What are you doing? Why are you all dressed so red? Are you going to get married? Chen Guang laughed as he walked down the short stairs in front of the cafeteria. Lin Jingwei and Bai Nyangzi, who were standing in front of the crowd, looked at each other, then suddenly took out a rolled-up banner and threw it away. Madam White immediately took over the other end of the banner. The two of them quickly pulled it to both sides, and the banner was pulled open like a painting of mountains and rivers. When it was completely unfolded, there were 8 big words written on the banner. Qin Guang, the King of English. Damn. You guys are so bored. Are you afraid I'm not famous enough? Students passing by on the pedestrian street outside of the cafeteria couldn't help but look at them. Qin Guang saw that the situation was not good, so he planned to run away. At this moment, Sun Xiaoxuan, who was wearing a pink floral dress, had a blushing face and was holding an electric loudspeaker in his hand. He took a step forward, took a deep breath, and put the loudspeaker in front of his mouth. After holding it for a long time, he turned it off and said in a low voice, I'm sorry. I really can't shout. When he saw the electric horn in Sun Xiaoxuan's hand, Qin Guang was scared. He decisively turned around and walked towards the teaching building with his face covered. When he passed by Sun Xiaoxuan, he heard what she said and let out a sigh of relief. There were so many people watching. If he really shouted her name out, would he still be able to face others in the future? At this moment, Gaoya snatched the electric horn from Sun Xiaoxuan's hand and stuffed it into Lin Jingwei's hands. We spent so much effort to cheer, how can we give up halfway? At this moment, Lin Jingwei started to panic. Holding onto the loudspeaker, he looked at Qin Guang's silhouette and hesitated. Are we really going to shout? Gaoya nodded. Shout if you're a man. Qin Guang was about 20 to 30 meters away when he heard Lin Jingwei's hoarse roar. Qin Guang. Go. Pass. Level 4. *CKU. Can't we still be friends? Who is this Qin Guang? He's just taking the level 4 exam, and he's making such a scene? I don't know. Maybe he's some rich kid. He's the guy who was trending on the school's internet a few days ago. I remember him. He's a rich kid. He smashed someone's A4L with his gang and he slapped money on the person's face. The person lost money on the spot. *CK. He's so cool. Where is he? Where is he? I have to grab this opportunity to ride his coattails. Save it. It's hard to get along with those rich kids. He might even give you a few tight slaps if he doesn't like you. Qin Guang buried his head even deeper as he listened to the strange discussions around him. He had reason to believe that the people in class were not cheering him on. They were purely trying to set him up. If it wasn't for the fact that he had become the real king of English, he would have performed badly before the exam. You guys are a bunch of scammers. He went straight to the building where the exam venue was located. He met another person outside. It was a bit cooler today. One was wearing a long, thin, white windbreaker. She was standing next to the first teaching building. When the breeze blew, her long hair danced in the wind. She then rolled up a corner of the windbreaker, revealing the lower half of her slender legs. The warm morning sun shone down on her face. The fine hair on her face was wrapped in the faint light, adding a different kind of dazzling radiance to her already beautiful face. Qin Guang, who was standing nearby, was dumbfounded. The other boys passing by were even worse. Some of them had already accidentally tripped and fell. Even after enduring 3 years of training, Qin Guanghan still couldn't guard against it all day and night. What's wrong? Are you dumbfounded? One took a step forward and stood right in front of Qin Guang. Qin Guang turned his face to the side with great difficulty. It's a bit hard, but I can still take it. One covered her mouth and laughed. Then you better remember. Do your best and do your best. Of course, I haven't forgotten our bet from a month ago. I'm afraid that you might think that I've forgotten. You're a shy person and never bring it up in front of me. So I'm here to remind you. Just because of what you said, I have to grit my teeth and do it even if I have to lose 10 years of my life. Qin Guang laughed. It's good that you know. I'm going back to the dormitory first. I'll wait for your good news. One really came here to wait for him. She left after saying a few words. Watching Wenwen's figure go away, Qin Guang clenched his fist. Since she had said so much, of course he had to pass it. 2.5 hours later, Qin Guang was like a general who had returned from the battlefield. He walked down the stairs of the teaching building with brisk and powerful steps. He couldn't help but be so happy and proud. Without any accidents, his level had reached a high enough level. These CD4 questions were not difficult for him at all. Although he couldn't confirm the specific score, Qin Guang was 100% sure that he had passed the CET4 that had troubled him for 3 years. For others, this might be a trivial matter. But for Qin Guang it was a milestone breakthrough. It was not only because of Wenwen's attractive bet, but also because this matter had been bothering him for too long. It had almost become a demon in his heart. Alright, Miss Wen's bet was great too. He really had to thank the Heavenly Holy Grail. If it wasn't for the help of the Heavenly Holy Grail, Qin Guang was sure that no matter how hard he worked this year, he wouldn't be able to create any miracles in a month. In short, it was time for her to fulfill her promise. I passed C4. Where should I go to fulfill my promise? It was impossible to do it in public. In the forest by Yuanming Lake? Although it was a sacred place for a tryst, it wouldn't be good if someone bumped into it, right? It would be such a loss if someone saw it and took advantage of it. Forget it, he couldn't do anything without risking it. Although it hurt, he couldn't save this little bit of money. He would book a room in a hotel outside the school. Which hotel should he book? With the status of Wen University's campus belle, a nameless hotel was shameful. Of course, it had to be the only hotel with stars. Qin Guang took out his phone and decided to book a room first. Chapter 183. As for why he didn't consider buying the rubber umbrella, firstly, the hotel definitely had it, and secondly, Qin Guang didn't think it would be useful. Wen University's campus belle had always been a man of her word. Since she had already said that, there would definitely be no more benefits. There was no need to feel regretful. As long as he thought about the fact that he had finally taken the first important step after 20 years of zero breakthroughs, there would be no more regrets. When Qin Guang noticed that an hourly room in the huge Craters Wellington Hotel cost more than 300 yuan, his fingers hesitated for a moment, but he still clicked hard. A worker must sharpen his tools to do a good job. If he wasn't ruthless to himself, how could he be worthy of Wen University's campus belle's generosity? After booking the room, he called Wenwen in a hurry before he even had dinner. What's wrong? Is the exam over? Wenwen sounded a little absent-minded. Qin Guang chuckled. Of course. Where are you? I'm coming to find you. Come straight to the internet cafe, the same place. Hurry up. There are so many people today. There are at least 70 to 80 people trying to take your seat. Luckily, I used second uncle's ID to open a computer, or else you would have lost your seat long ago. No wonder Wenwen's voice sounded absent-minded. It turned out that this big sister had already gone to the internet cafe and was in the middle of a fierce battle. Qin Guang was puzzled. Since you used second uncle's ID to open a computer, why didn't he just sit there and surf the internet? Why did he ask someone to come over and ask you? Wenwen spat at him from a distance. You really know how to think. Second uncle is already so old. I just used his ID and he was so embarrassed that he almost broke a tree. He even let people into the internet cafe to sit? Qin Guang chuckled. He recalled second uncle's expert demeanor. It was a little out of place for such a person to sit in the internet cafe. After hanging up, he suddenly remembered that he had forgotten to tell her about the bet. He was so regretful that he stomped his feet. However, on second thought, she was there and she wouldn't fly away. With Wenwen's personality, he wasn't afraid that she would go back on her word. There was no need to tell her over the phone. It would be better to tell her face to face at the internet cafe. The hourly room would only start at 2 p.m. and end at 5 p.m. There was no hurry. It didn't take long for him to find Wenwen. It couldn't be helped. Whenever she came alone, she would always be surrounded by a lot of enthusiastic people. Usually, these enthusiastic fans would point out Wenwen's equipment and maneuvers at the beginning. Even if they weren't Dota players but League of Legends players, they were no exception. However, in the end, these people would shut their mouths one after another, not daring to speak out of turn due to Wenwen's gorgeous and precise manipulation. This was also the reason why she didn't like coming to the internet cafe alone. It was extremely annoying. Excuse me, please excuse me. There were too many people standing in the aisle. Qin Guang couldn't smoothly move over. He could only politely ask the people squeezing in the aisle to make space for him. He didn't expect that the people surrounding him were all young and energetic lads. Everyone was busy watching their goddess maneuvers. It wasn't easy for them to occupy an advantageous position. How could they let a newcomer move away just like that? Bro, don't you understand the principle of first come, first served? You should be aware that you're late. Just wait at the back. There'll be space for you when the people in front leave. A lad with long palm-length hair turned around and glanced at Qin Guang with disdain. Qin Guang was overjoyed. It had been so many days since he beat up Dong Tao. He hadn't fought anyone for a long time. His peerless skills were probably rusting and degenerating. Thank you for acting cool in front of me. This internet cafe is Wenwen and I'm blessed. If we go back and forth here a few more times, there'll be a continuous stream of lads coming to us to practice. If we persist for 8 to 10 years, we'll definitely achieve the peerless skills that tens of thousands of people admire. Let's go outside and talk about life. Qin Guang said excitedly. Hey, you guys have nothing better to do. Why are you squeezing behind me? I already said that I'm waiting for someone. Now that my friend is here, you guys are blocking my way. Are you trying to fight with a lady like me? At this time, Wenwen finally ended the exciting game. She threw away her mouse and turned to look at Qin Guang with a straight face. Qin Guang was sad. Damn it. He was noticed by this T-Rex. His hard-earned practice opportunity was going to go to waste again. Yo, the girl's temper is pretty bad. I'm not going to let you go. So what? The long-haired youth didn't disappoint Qin Guang. He continued to speak with a raised eyebrow. While speaking, he also winked at the people around him. These people jumped up and down with him. It turned out that there was a group of people here. No wonder he had the guts to be so arrogant. Qin Guang laughed. I've seen a lot of people like you. Now the grass on their graves is almost 2 meters tall. Your joke isn't funny. The long-haired youth kept a straight face. He felt that he was very cool. I think this joke is pretty good. What do you guys think? Wenwen, who was sitting in the booth, spoke again. This time she had something in her hand. It was a can of Coke that she had just finished drinking. As she spoke, crunching sounds could be heard from the Coke can in her hand. Under everyone's eyes, the aluminum alloy Coke can was easily squashed flat by her fair hands and then twisted into a small metal ball with her fingers. Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations. The sound of people sucking in a breath of cold air came one after another. The group of young men behind Wenwen were all dumbfounded. When they looked at Qin Guang again, the expression in their eyes immediately changed. They said, "How can you be so arrogant and cool? They thought you had some amazing ability." After a long time, it turned out that this delicate beauty was the real Thai. Brother, your skill of pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger, we admire it. Run. In less than 10 seconds, the crowd behind Wenwen scattered like birds and beasts. Qin Guang sat down next to her. Before he could say anything, Wenwen urged, "Hurry up, I just finished a round and my hands are still warm." Originally, Qin Guang had wanted to directly bring up the matter of the bet, but seeing her like this, he didn't want to dampen her spirits, so he thought, "Fine, I'll play a few rounds with you first." Today was a little strange. That ID called Jiang Luhua hadn't appeared from start to finish. The two of them hadn't encountered any snipers, so they had won 2 rounds without a hitch. At this moment, Qin Guang wondered if he was sick. When that Jiang Luhua had been jumping around, he had hated him to the core, but now that he had disappeared, his heart felt empty. Unknowingly, it was already 4 o'clock in the afternoon. His stomach had started to growl with hunger, and the most important thing was that the hourly hotel reservation was about to expire. He was finally anxious. Taking advantage of this round, he finally plucked up the courage to say, "Wenwen, there's something I don't know if I should say." "Go ahead." What about our bet?" As Qin Guang said this, his gaze drifted down to Wenwen's chest. His meaning couldn't be more obvious. Wenwen shrank back. "What nonsense are you thinking about? F***CK. Is he clearly going to renege on his debt? Even if I agree, the heavens won't agree." Qin Guang was having none of it. "You can't renege on your debt, can you?" Wenwen hit his chest. "Who said I'm going to renege on my debt? Am I that kind of person who can't take responsibility? But you can't expect me to fulfill my promise right after the exam, can you? The results haven't come out yet, so no matter how confident you are, you can't say you've already passed." Qin Guang was dumbfounded. F***CK. Today is June 14th, and we'll have to wait until the results come out on August 20th. There are still 67 days left. All right, it's not like I'm going to fly away. Just wait here obediently. Even if you want to take advantage of me, you have to follow the basic rules, right? We have to follow the rules. Didn't we agree that you'll only be rewarded if you pass the exam? Wenwen said with a grin. Obviously, she had this idea from the start, but she had purposely waited until now to point it out to Qin Guang. Qin Guang covered his face. D***MN, his heart was bleeding. The hourly room that cost more than 300 renminbi was booked for nothing. All right. Don't look so sad. Are you really 100% confident? Wenwen asked again when she saw how pitiful he was. Qin Guang nodded. 100%. How about this? Let's find a quiet corner later, and I'll let you get 20% of your reward in advance. How about that? Not through my clothes for a minute? Get lost. Just through my clothes. Take it or leave it. Chapter 184. The two of them squeezed into the internet cafe's toilet. The narrow space forced the two of them to be extremely close to each other. Thankfully, this internet cafe's toilet was relatively clean, and there was almost no odor. Looking at Wenwen, who had her eyes tightly closed and her coat tightly wrapped around her, Qin Guang's breathing was a little heavy. At such a close distance, even the slightest sound of breathing could be clearly heard by the other party. The thin coat couldn't cover Wenwen's peerless figure. Looking at her from such a close distance, her chest was so tall and straight. Qin Guang slowly raised his right hand and slowly moved towards one of the peaks. The closer he got, the slower his movements became. Bean-sized beads of sweat had already densely covered the tip of his nose, completely betraying his overly nervous mood at the moment. 5 minutes had passed since they squeezed into the toilet, but to Qin Guang, it seemed like a whole year had passed. You're not going to let the two of us stay here for a year, right? Can I still go home for Chinese New Year? Wenwen suddenly opened her eyes and stared at Qin Guang, who was right in front of her as she said so. Qin Guang's hand that hadn't really touched her retracted as if it had been electrocuted. He panted heavily, "My sister. I'm about to succeed, don't suddenly scare me." Wenwen angrily stepped on his foot. "I don't know what you're afraid of, I didn't say no. You've already retracted your hand at least 8 times. Can you blame me for this?" Qin Guang put on a long face. "What do you know? Although I've more or less accidentally taken advantage of you in the past, this is the first time in my life that I've had the opportunity to take the initiative to feel it. Can you please understand my nervousness a little?" "Screw you. You make it sound like I have a lot of experience being touched by others. This is not the first time in my life. Stop dawdling. I'll give you one last chance. If you waste it again, you can go back to your dorm and pinch your pillow. Hurry up." As Wenwen spoke, she put her hands on Qin Guang's shoulders, straightened her chest and closed her eyes again. Qin Guang took a deep breath. He decided that regardless of whether the sky would collapse in the future, at least at this moment, he must throw away that shameful loser's personality. No matter how unreachable this great goddess one was, no matter whether the person living in her body was a man or a woman, and no matter how much she might regret it later and beat him up. Right now he had to be a brave and valiant man. Qin Guang charged. He raised his hand fiercely, closed his eyes, and pushed his palm forward like a shot put. The distance between his palm and the mountain continued to shrink. This 5 fingers peak of the devil's palm, with resolute courage, crossed time and space, broke through the barrier of fate, fiercely and without regret, and blasted on Maiden's Mountain. They collided. At this moment, Qin Guang finally understood why men's desire to pursue women was so deep-rooted since ancient times. Even if it was just a simple touch, as long as it was done deliberately, that touch, which was filled with the terrifying impact of the creation of heaven and earth and the birth of chaos, was like thousands of lightning bolts starting from his heel and fiercely shot up. A whirlpool-like numbness rushed up from the soles of his feet, passed through his whole body like lightning, and went straight to his head. So, this was the feeling of pinching this maiden's peak. It was really incredible. This is a historical moment. From now on, I, Qin Guang, will finally break free from the shackles, and become a brave man without hesitation. I've taken such a solid step, just like humans stepping on the moon for the first time. But it's strange why in such an epic moment I feel so good that my stomach hurts a little. When he opened his eyes, he saw Wenwen's fist on his stomach. "Didn't you find out that my abdominal muscles could have such a strong ability to change shape? F***ck, I got beaten up, I knew it would be like this. Ouch." Dragging out a long tremble, Qin Guang clutched his stomach in pain and squatted down on the ground. Wenwen's face was full of apology and hurriedly supported Qin Guang. I'm sorry, I really didn't mean it. I also don't know what happened when you really touched it. I couldn't control my hand for a moment, and when I came back to my senses, it had already hit your stomach." "Stop talking, quickly call 120, I can still be saved." Qin Guang roughly understood the meaning of dying under a peony flower, and becoming a ghost was also a romantic principle. Poor him, he only touched the peony flower from afar, and was poked all over his body. Today's encounter reminded him of the same painful punch from many years ago. It was still that familiar smell, the same location, the same injury. After experiencing the slaughter in the sea of time, he was clearly no longer the same as before, but lying on the bed, his stomach still felt waves of cramping pain. He remembered the doctor's sigh from before. "Oh my, this is really bad. Did you get hit by a car? Luckily you're strong enough, otherwise you'd be lying in bed for a few days." Sigh, I really have to thank God for being able to live until today. One was currently sitting by the bed with an apologetic face, rubbing her hands in shame. Don't look at me with such a wronged face, I really didn't mean it. You have inner strength like second uncle, don't try to lie to me. Second uncle spilled the beans last time. I wanted to learn from him, but he refused to teach me. Qin Guang felt that this matter must be brought up, otherwise if this situation continues when the results of the 4th level come out, if she really didn't want him to kiss her through her clothes, she would definitely punch his forehead, and then he would really die under a peony flower. One nodded helplessly. This is inner strength. Qin Guang immediately continued, Master, I want to learn. For the sake of brothers. Just teach me a little. Otherwise I'll be beaten to death by you sooner or later. One sighed, I'm willing to teach you, but my family matters can't be explained with just a few words. But my family's matters can't be explained in just a few words. If you want to learn. How? What's the condition? One's face was filled with helplessness. Then you have to marry me. Is this a hard and fast rule? Qin Guang asked. One nodded, yes. I can't go against it. Qin Guang spread his hands. I have no problem with it. Risk and benefit always coexist. Get lost. I have a problem with it. One rejected him decisively. Hearing those words, Qin Guang refused to accept it and continued, Look, the two of us are destined to be single forever. Instead of mocking each other for being single forever, why don't we just clap our hands together and form a pair? I think this is a good idea. One glanced at him disdainfully, Good my ass. I went to see a psychiatrist some time ago. Damn. What did the psychiatrist say? The psychiatrist said that I will definitely have a tendency of domestic violence in the future. After all, this lady is a little too manly sometimes. The weather is really good today, let's go for a walk. Didn't you say you want to marry me just now? Ah. The so-called marrying one was just a joke between the two of them. Both of them were used to each other's mischief, but if they really wanted to turn each other into lovers, it would be exceptionally strange. Especially Qin Guang, although he never took the initiative to inquire about one's family background, he knew that the gap between them was really too big. But he was not anxious because he had the heavenly Holy Grail. However, it was not a joke, that punch today was worth it, the feeling of that moment could be remembered for half a year. Anyway, he did not plan to wash his hands this month. Chapter 185. In the next few days, the two of them didn't have much time to play games. After passing the CET4 exam as a university student, the next thing they had to face was the final exam that the straight-A students were looking forward to and the straight-A students were terrified of. Qin Guang didn't go to the sports car anymore. He only went to the city hospital every 1 or 2 days and spent most of the rest of his time cramming for the final exam. As a senior straight-A student, he had a lot of experience in last-minute training. In less than a week, relying on his skillful experience, he passed 3 tests in a row and solved the exams of 3 compulsory courses. Thank God, he would have more than a week of rest, and the next exam would be on June 27th. Although he had the fate of a protagonist with a magical artifact, he still had to be hung up and punished by his father if he failed. Old Master Qin Guang was also panicking in his heart. These days, he didn't even have the mood to ambush the heavenly Holy Grail's world in the cup. Anyway, there was still no movement from the heavenly Holy Grail, so he couldn't defend against it. If it weren't for Lioli's fairy-like face that would still occasionally appear in his dreams at night, Qin Guang would almost think that his heavenly Holy Grail was really an ordinary cup. Today he woke up abnormally early because he couldn't contain his excitement. After waiting for a long time, the 2 celebrities on his left and right hand were finally coming back from abroad. Their plane would arrive at Wujing Airport at about noon. In order to come to Wujing City, the 2 of them seemed to have really given themselves a long vacation. The 2 women who lived under the spotlight all year round played a big trick on the outside media. They made people think that they were still in the United States, but they had quietly boarded the plane back to China. The only people who knew that the 2 women were returning to China at this time were probably the passengers and flight attendants in the first-class cabin. There was no time for others to find a way to inform the reporters or paparazzi. The 2 of them made up their minds to look for Qin Guang as soon as they got off the plane, so they didn't arrange for a private car to pick them up. They knew that Qin Guang was online, so they directly asked Qin Guang to pick them up at the airport. Usually, when a certain celebrity left the airport on TV, he would be surrounded by all kinds of cameras and paparazzi, as if he had accidentally revealed his whereabouts. He would have to call for a large number of bodyguards to protect him before he could successfully walk out of the airport. In fact, those who knew the ropes all knew that this so-called leaking of their whereabouts was completely intentional. Usually, the purpose of doing this was to cover up the whereabouts of celebrities. A trip like this needed to be done with great fanfare, to promote a new film, a new song, or something else. Even if you were a celebrity like Wuxia, it wouldn't be difficult for you to sneak out and land without anyone noticing. As a top-notch taxi driver, Qin Guang took a refreshing cold shower early in the morning. Then he deliberately changed into a summer outfit that he thought was the best. It was a Hawaiian-style floral shirt and loose and handsome Hawaiian pants. He grabbed the styling gel that Lin Jingwei had been spraying on his head recently and sprayed it all over his head as if it was free. Then he combed his hair into a handsome windmill hairstyle. Master Guang decided to use his best condition to welcome the Patek Philippe, oh no, the two friends who could save his mother's life. Just as he was about to go out, Bai Nyangzi walked out of the dormitory in slippers with narrowed eyes. He saw Qin Guang in the living room looking at the mirror and showing off his good looks as usual before going out. He complained, "Brother Guang, are you going on a blind date?" Qin Guang rolled his eyes at him in disdain. "What do you know? I'm going to earn big money. Are you really a gigolo? Tsk, with this hairstyle, Lin Jingwei's gel has almost been sprayed dry by you. There was still a third of it left when I secretly used it yesterday." As Bai Nyangzi complained on behalf of Lin Jingwei, he maliciously attacked Qin Guang's head with lightning speed, intending to destroy the hairstyle that he had painstakingly managed to do. Then the naive young man Bai Nyangzi let out a blood-curdling scream, while Qin Guang flashed an expression that said, "You deserve it," and swaggered off. Bai Nyangzi looked at his heavily injured right hand, wanting to cry but having no tears. Damn it! How hard did this grandson's hair get? It's bleeding from all the poking. There must be a hedgehog on his head. After throwing the bag into the car and placing the heavenly holy grail on the cup holder, Qin Guang whistled and went out the door. In the bag in the front passenger seat, there was a knitted scarf that he only used in winter and a pair of sunglasses that he had originally planned to buy to show off, but he had only worn it once. Don't ask him why he brought these things. Today he was going to pick up his left and right hand. If he wasn't prepared and someone took a picture of them and posted it on the internet, he would have to be prepared to say goodbye to his peaceful and comfortable life. Things like international flights were always unpredictable. Most of the time, it would arrive late to the point where it made people want to die. But occasionally, it would arrive an hour early, making people waiting at the airport to be picked up cry silently. For ordinary people, arriving early might be a good thing, but considering the special circumstances of his left and right hand, it would most likely turn into a terrible disaster if they were to stay at the airport for an hour. That was why Qin Guang left so early today. Halfway through the car, he hesitated for a long time and decided to do something. For his left and right hand, giving a Patek Philippe watch might be a simple way to express their gratitude. But for Qin Guang, the significance of this watch was too great. Regardless of whether the other person cared or not, Qin Guang felt that he should express enough gratitude for the other person's kindness. Therefore he parked the car at a roadside flower shop, spared no effort to buy a large bouquet of white bell-shaped flowers and put it in the trunk. The flower language of the white bell-shaped flowers was gratitude and gratitude. Although he didn't like Jiang Yage, Qin Guang felt that although friendship was beautiful, it also had to be worldly. If someone was nice to you, you couldn't be so thick-skinned and ungrateful and accept it. People should know how to be grateful. He didn't have much money, so he couldn't give anything valuable, but it wasn't too much to give a bunch of flowers with no extra meaning to express his gratitude. Such a simple gift wouldn't cause any misunderstanding, so why not? It took about half an hour to wrap the bouquet, and it was already 10:30 in the morning when he arrived at the airport. Qin Guang parked the car in the parking lot, walked briskly to the exit of the international flight, and began the long wait. He was so bored that he bought an entertainment newspaper, which was rare. He returned to the parking lot, leaned against his car door and started reading. The headline of the newspaper was about Big Beard Deng's new movie that was about to finish filming. As a non-professional best actor, Qin Guang slapped his forehead. Before he saw the newspaper, he didn't even know the name of the movie. He didn't even know the theme and plot of the movie from beginning to end. I'm really sorry for the 180,000 yuan that Big Beard Deng and Zhouye gave me. Should I write an article on Douban later to brag about this movie? Tears Last Days, Qin Guang smiled. Looking at the title of the movie, Big Beard Deng seemed to have a big plan. Sure enough, this was a war epic about a fictional historical environment, depicting two women who played different roles in the chaos of war. One was a valiant heroine, and the other was the only daughter of a loyal minister who lost his country. The whole movie revolved around the two women, one martial and one literary, drawing a picture of turbulent mountains and rivers. It told the story of the ups and downs of a dynasty, the suffering of the people, and also indirectly promoted anti-war ideas. Qin Guang thought of the deputy general he played and laughed. The two characters were so deep, but he was just a brainless, short-tempered, murderous bore. He couldn't help but look forward to it. What would it be like when his classmates or other acquaintances saw his handsome face in the movie theater? You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.